and we're just kind of waiting for Brian and Perry to hop on. Perry is going last. It's not the most important thing for him to be here right now, but I asked him to come on just to hopefully we can work out any technical issues.
I just wanted to spotlight you because you're going to be the first speaker.
Well, miigwech Nikanis. Appreciate the recommendation, man. It means a lot. I'm gonna do kind of a hybrid. I'll sprinkle in some Anishinaabe, and yeah, I'll just kind of so people can hopefully learn a few words here and there, and yeah, I'll attempt next time to do it all in a language. That was part of my thought
in
too.
progress.
That was part of my thought too. I wanted to make sure everyone could follow okay, regardless of where they were in their language journey. Okay. Are we getting started then? That's how these things start, huh? Or still waiting for a few folks.
Yeah, we can probably get started. We could do a quick introduction, and then maybe Terry, I'll put you down to or if you want to introduce yourself right now, Terry, you can, and then put you down to a participant so you don't feel the need to be on the scene until you're telling your stories. But yeah, I can introduce myself because I'm bossing everybody around. Hello, everybody. My name is Peyton Counts. Wingushkikwe is my spirit name, or Sweetgrass Woman. I'm originally from Turtle Mountain, but now I live and work on the Bois Forte Indian Reservation. I'm the cultural healing coordinator here. I work in the traditional healing program that helped bring this event to fruition, I guess, to happen. I've been working with Jalen and Darren and Chaz at KBF to try to come up with some way. I know with COVID and everything, it's kind of hard for us to be together and make space and do the things that we want to do. And also, we wanted to find a way to reach people at the same time so that we're not feeling alone in these lonely times. So that's a little bit about me, and I will pass it to Jalen.
Uju and Dinaway Magni Dok means Beba Mashan Indigu, Adikindu Dame, Subikane Zagi Gana Dunjaba. So grew up in Net Lake for most of my life, and my dad, lives over here in Vermilion. And something that I always wanted to do, I guess, once I went to college, coming back, there's been attempts and stuff like that, but I feel like one of my missions is to hopefully be able to bring in different people and new faces. So we got a lot of younger people on here today, and a lot of people that are a little ways into their language learning journey. Some people are, pretty far into their language journey. And I want to kind of encourage people to, listen, and hopefully if you don't know some words, hopefully that can encourage you guys to move farther. I guess I never said where I work. I work here at the Heritage Center over in Vermilion. So if anybody wants to stop down, we're right down the street from Fortune Bay. Hours are 9 to 5, Tuesday through Saturday. You can give us a call 218-753-6017. Giving a shout out to the KBFT for helping us put this together and broadcasting it out. I don't know if anybody wants to say anything there. If not, we can kind of move to our first speaker, Nicholas Deshawn. I don't know, Nick, if you've introduced yourself, but if not, I guess, do you want to do that again?
Yeah. I first of all, go ahead, me kid me gwech ginawa ni Anishinaabe in sampin batu mishdim indigo Moccasin Game, mashigaming dunchba mishgwa eshkaba gazibing da and dunaway magnug wenjabawad wede subcase kaigening guy Nicholas Shah Dijnaka Shaganashimo. So bonjour everyone, my name is Bimbatu Mishdim. Means a horse that runs along, and I am Eagle Clan. My family comes from Bois Forte. I didn't grow up even in Minnesota. I grew up in Michigan, but I came to Minnesota to connect with and learn more about this part of my family. Gotten to meet and get close to a couple of relatives, couple of whom I see on this cast, which is just really, really cool. And it means a lot to be able to be here in the space and sharing this stuff with you. I'm just really, really grateful to be here. So just miigwech Jalen, miigwech KBFT and the Heritage Center for the opportunity. I appreciate it. Other folks need to introduce, I guess.
Yeah, we can kind of run through that, and then we'll have them reintroduce themselves whenever it's their turn to talk. So I guess we can go to Perry. Perry, if you want to unmute and introduce yourself to everyone that's watching.
Anishinaabe Ashkibanas Ninsa Makwan Dudam Zabikwane Zagagan Dunjba Nisimidina Babonigiz Bamanaway Gijik was in a kazu Nadede Mizaway Gabuik was in a kazu Namama. Okay, just short background. I'll just keep it short for me. Karen Drift's grandchild, and 95% of my Anishinaabe vocabulary comes from her. As Jalen said about each of our language journeys, we're all at different paths and success rates, and it's all successful. I'm the co-creator of the game board series, and I want to say a big shout out to my grandma right now, because she called me last summer and wanted me on board for it, and it's just been awesome. And the language revitalization, the stories, the culture, that's been my passion. And as everyone else is here on this panel and listening, watching, there's much work to do. And I have a good feeling about this today. And I just want to thank you all for listening. Thank you all.
I don't know if you said, but maybe you can repeat, Perry, if if anybody wanted to order any of these games, how would they do that?
Oh, that can be done through either mainly Karen Drift, mainly. if you're utilizing funding through a program, we can issue professional invoices, and they can be purchased because they do classify as educational items and tools. Or if you just want to pick one up directly, you can give Karen Drift a call at her cell phone number, which is 218-750, I believe it's 7268, I believe. And she is more than happy to sell a game board at any time. And payment can go directly to her too.
Perfect. And then for Eileen and Brian, we're just going through a quick introduction. And if you want to plug anything, go ahead and plug it. We'll have another opportunity to do introductions and everything as we get to your turn to speak. So moving on, I guess we'll go to Terry. Terry, if you want to unmute and just say a quick introduction, and then if you have anything you want to promote, go for it.
Hey, bonjour, Terry Nandishnakas, Domain Nindode, Monamani Jagai Gun in Dunjba. Hello, my name is Terry Goodsky. I come from the Bois Forte Reservation, I grew up in Minneapolis. I've been in Lake Vermilion most of my life. I do know a minimum of the language, and I do try to make learning fun. So, but yeah, I'm here to hopefully, teach a few things, and I'm just here to, give support to Bois Forte, and we do have to keep the language going. Everybody has to do a part, and so I'm gonna teach you how to count in the language later, and I'm gonna go thug life. We're gonna play dominoes in the language and learn how to count, maybe up to 30, so maybe up to 40. So that's it, and I'd like to thank KBFT. Well, I'm sitting here right now. I'm at my radio station, KKWE in White Earth, the only quiet place I could find. So, but yeah, I'm here to support. I'm here to do a little teaching, have some fun, answer some questions later, and that's about it.
What's the frequency for the radio station out there?
The same thing as KBFT, 89.9 FM.
Nice.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm just here, to give some support. And the thing about learning the language is, sometimes it gets a little tedious, but you do have to make it fun. And to reach the younger generations, you have to try something new.
For sure.
So that's
All right. We're gonna move on over to Eileen. Eileen, I'm gonna put you on the spot. If you can unmute here and introduce yourself to everyone that's watching.
Okay, thank you. I'm Eileen Erler. I'm enrolled in Bois Forte and live in St. Paul. I've been taking classes at the U in the Southwest Ojibwe dialect since 2016. I know a little bit more than I used to. I started with just knowing a few words, like how to count to 6 and how to say wabus, and that was about it. Let's see. I can say more later, I guess. I was just gonna read. I still get so nervous when I speak that I'm not even sure I don't even know what I would say. So I have a story that I'll read in the language, and then followed by an English translation. Yeah, I guess what I'm up to now, my language study has led to I'm working on a graduate degree in linguistics at the University of Minnesota. And I just hope to be able to do bigger projects, learn how to do this, so that things like an archive can be created, maybe, and housed at the Heritage Center or something like that. Trying to dream as big as possible so that future generations have everything from language to family history, to cultural artifacts or whatever we need to do. So that's kind of what I'm about. thanks for listening.
Awesome. Yeah, and that's we're lucky to have you come up during the summer times and the times that you can and work with some of our elders and hopefully be able to document some of the language so we can get our Bois Forte dialect hopefully recorded enough to a point where we can have more of an understanding of how that differs from other language dialects for Ojibwe. And we're going to move here to Brian's Bill Day. Brian, if you can unmute and turn on your camera, we'll put you on the spot here. If you have anything to plug, I heard there might be some hand drum events going on. Go ahead and give those a shout out.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep.
All right. Bonjour, Anin. Ajebun, Benes, Indigenous Cause, Mukwan, and Dundame, Net Lake, and Dujba. My name is Brian Stille Jr. I'm from Bois Forte. I live in Superior, Wisconsin. And I'm just on here to listen to a few Ojibwe stories, get a few insights. I hear there's a Ojibwe game. I'm currently working at the Fond du Lac Ojibwe School as a singing instructor. And I'm just gonna probably be on here talking about the teachings of the drum and what I know so far as a singer. And I know a little bit of the language. I don't know a lot. I'm willing to learn as much as I can because I got 7 sons that look up to me. Me and my wife are actually trying to learn the language. There's not much opportunities where we live in Fond du Lac and Cloquet area. Yeah, I work at the Fond du Lac Ojibwe School as a singing instructor. I've been there probably since September. I was there before COVID, but then it got too out of hand, and then I just pretty much got scared and went back home. I also work in the 1091 labor union at nighttime, so I was very thankful to catch a little bit of your guys' time. I don't want to take up too much time here because I got a lot of fine speakers on here I've seen. But yeah, for events wise, here in Duluth, we're going to be hosting a round dance February 5th. That's brought to you by the AIM Twin Ports Support Group, Duluth Indigenous Commission, ACO, Lowell School. I may have a little bit of some come from Bois Forte, Fond du Lac School. Well, yeah, February 5th, we're having a round dance in Duluth, Minnesota at the Washington Center. Invite everybody to come on down. I see my Uncle Terry is on here, so come on down, Unc. Come record.
Awesome. Yeah, and it's great to have just like a diverse group of people coming on and helping out with some of the stuff that we're trying to put together here, and a lot of good people from the tribe here doing great things out, not necessarily in the community, but just out in Indian country in general. And being able to connect those and realize that it's just a call or just a text to get you guys back and helping out with us with stuff from the tribe. And there's always great pride that comes from Bois Forte. Peyton makes fun of me every once in a while for how prideful I am of Bois Forte. When I was down in the cities, you barely ever meet anybody from Bois Forte. And knowing all this stuff, you got to represent. I see some people in the attendees that represent Bois Forte pretty hard too. But I guess moving on to the actual event of it, we might have to make an audible. I know Brian's got to get to work here pretty quick. Would it be all right if Nick and Brian switch places and Brian went first?
Yeah,
cool?
All right. Yeah, I was just gonna share a little bit what I've known about the drum and the few drums that I take care of, and the history of the drum that I'm actually taking care of right now is a family drum that where we come from is Bois Forte area, Net Lake, Sugar Bush area to be exact. I'm here to say a little bit about the Sugar Bush singers, what I've picked up throughout the years from my grandpa, the late Harold Goodsky Jr. And then just like whatever I learned throughout my time as throughout my dad, my uncles, my brothers, or just self-learning. I had a list here of stuff that about my grandpa's drum group. Before the Sugar Bush Singers, they were the known as the Bois Forte Singers, and the Bois Forte Singers were a pretty long list here. The name was from like 1988 to 1990, and there was the my Uncle Harvey, my Uncle Terry, my Grandpa Dejan, Elroy Lightfeather, my Uncle Ron. There's a few other names that I didn't recognize: Alfred Blackwolf, Edwin Whiteman, Harland. I remember Harland, the late Harland too. Chuck Kelly, Kurt Goodsky, and sometimes a few people like Daryl Kingbird. I also know that he comes to our homelands up there during the powers and helps us out for spiritual advisor stuff. That's another good person. Mike Hawk, Pat Pierre, Mark Drift, Jim Boja, and Bob Adams, and Vernon Kingbird, Walter Hartley. They were known as like the Bois Forte Singers when my grandpa was younger, and they would travel all over. I was listening to stories that they didn't care the mileage or where a pow would be. If it was like late down in the south or way up in Canada, whatever guys that were willing to hang in and go with my family, they would go. And right now, currently, they're not known as the Bois Forte Singers no more. Before my grandpa passed away, they're the Sugar Bush Singers, which is a family drum. My family drum still consists of me, my uncles, my Uncle Terry, my brothers Harvey, Elgin, Devin, my cousins, my nephews, my sons. There's just a lot to name and a lot to there's a lot of singers. We probably would need like a damn 28 inch size drum for how many nephews and sons that we have together. Like, and I'm very proud to say that I come from a family drum. My family's are the Goodsky from up in the Bois Forte area. I'm a descendant from Red Lake. That's where the still date comes in. I'm enrolled in Bois Forte. I take a lot of pride in being from Bois Forte. A lot of good people, a lot of good things come from Bois Forte. A lot of good things happen in Bois Forte. And throughout my life as a singer, is just I've got to see so many different things. I got to learn so many different things. I got to meet so many different people. 29 years old right now. I'll be 30 this year. But as 30, I've taken on a lot of responsibility to be a drum keeper. I wouldn't really call me a lead singer because I don't really. I just bring the drum around and tell my brothers where I'm gonna be, and if they show up, they show up. And then like around Fond du Lac here right now, I'm trying to teach the Fond du Lac youth the importance of the drum. We feed the drum over there like all the time, not just there. I feed my drums in the spring and then in the fall. Have a little bit of deer meat mousse, berries, wild rice. Get the pipes, the bros that have the pipes and stuff, and we smoke our pipes and feast the drums and just feed them and pray for a good year, good policies, and then just look out after our families. I was taught to always take care of the drum, and you take care of the drum, it will take care of you. And I believe in that real heavy. I've gotten to see a lot of amazing places as a singer and got to do a lot of cool things. I hope I enroll from Bois Forte. They're descendants, but one day I hope to have them enroll in Bois Forte. They're learning a little bit of the language in the Fond du Lac school. I was hoping that they would push a little bit harder like other places. Like back home, I see they had a game, a Ojibwe game for the kids and for the adults. I thought that was really amazing and took pride. It's not even my game, but it's from the home, and I took a lot of pride that someone took that initiative and that step to create something like that. So the younger generation has something to carry on, and not even the younger, the adults and the ones just wanting to learn that may not be Anishinaabe. But yeah, just being as a singer, I learned I actually take care of my grandpa. Two of my grandpa's drums, I got a new one, and then the one he had before he passed, he called it the soldier's drum. And what the soldier's drum is it's just like a bass drum. You see, like the rock bands have that big bass drum that it sits like this, but we'll put it on the ground face down like that. And my grandpa always told me that was a soldier's drum. And I currently have his soldier's drum that he has. I take a lot of pride in having to take care of it. I feed that one, even though it's a bass drum. I feed it every spring and fall because it does have a spirit. That's just the way I was taught that all drums have a spirit, and that the drum was a gift, the gift from the women for us to use. And I always take pride in like when the youth, the younger girls want to get involved and sing, I'm willing to teach them and stuff like that. And yeah, I just wanted to say a little bit of like the Sugar Bush Singers, since we're from the Bois Forte area. That's what we're currently known as right now as Sugar Bush Singers. I got the drum down here in Superior. Me and my sons, I'm heavily on the singing with my sons. I try to pass that on as much as I can and as much as I know, and try to just make sure that they know where they come from and they know their culture and they know what songs to sing and stuff like that. And I was just very appreciative to have this lifestyle as a singer, to grow up in this way of life, and to be able to have a family that all the family sings, not just some of us, mostly everybody, the nephews, the sons and uncles, we all sing. And it's just a family drum from the Bois Forte area. And that's just also, I had the drums where I wanted to share with you guys the difference between the two, but I had to sneak downstairs here because like I said, I'm father of 7 and everybody's upstairs running around, and it's just hard to do that. I just came from the school, working at the school, and then to come home and have my own 6 here. I'm like, man, I gotta catch a break. I work at night, so that's pretty cool. That's where I get my little break. What else could I say about what I know about the drum? That's pretty much all that I have to say about what I know so far. Like I said, I'm still learning. I asked elders, I asked my uncles, I asked my bros the things that I don't know. So if I don't know something, I'm gonna ask, offer a sema to elder, my brother, anybody, just to get some knowledge or get learning experience. And I hope that I'm not too late to get in contact with the person that has the Ojibwe games on here, because I'm hoping to bring that in the Fond du Lac school. I don't know what the time limit is on each thing. I don't know how to use this.
And that's good for us. I mean, if you that's all you wanted to say, that's fine. If you want to keep going, definitely go ahead.
Oh yeah, I think it's about the top of the hour of 6 o'clock here. I don't want to take up too much of your guys' time.
Sure. Yeah, that works. Thanks for joining us, Brian. And you want to give another shout out real quick to what's going on next month?
Oh yeah, I remember February 5th, the round dance at the Washington Center. I believe that's 310 First Avenue West. Round dance from 2 to 10. There's going to be a 3 to 5 man adult hand drum contest, youth hand drum contest, ribbon shirt and ribbon skirt contest. So wear your best dress. You never know, you can win some little junior. Sidestep contest for the men and the women. Also sidestep contest for the youth. And I'm in the works of right now working on a women's backup singing contest. So there's going to be stuff for all ages over there to have a good time. And that is February 5th at the Washington Center in Duluth, Minnesota.
Great. Thanks for joining us again, Brian. It's been an honor to have you, and we look forward to seeing what you do, next, and helping out in whatever community you're in, and glad to have you with us.
Right, man. Appreciate it. Thanks for the opportunity.
Yep. So I guess we'll move on to our second speaker here. Moving on to Nicholas Deshawn. So if you want to reintroduce yourself, and then if you can speak on your story, and we'll get going here.
Sure. Miigwech. Minoa, Dishnakaz, Bimbatu Mishtim, Moccasin Dudim, Dunjaba Asa, Janakade, Shikming, Minoa, Eshkabagazibing and Da, Nomgom, Dunaway Magan, Dunaway Magana, Gwen Jabawad, Eshkabagazibing, Migayed Migochuendam, Niboa, Bajmog, Adzuke, Nomgom. So my name is Nicholas Deshawn, Bimbatu Mishidim in Ojibwe. I originally come from Michigan, but my family comes from Net Lake, Bois Forte. And I came back to Minnesota. It's funny I say I came back, but I didn't grow up coming here. But it felt like coming back to Minnesota to connect with my Bois Forte community and learn the language, which I've been working at for many years. Started teaching myself as best I could in a community that had no speakers, and gradually grew to went through college and other immersion programs, just learning the language and the culture as best I could. These days I'm a physical education teacher, and I also work for Indian Education in Inver Grove Heights and South St. Paul. And I have a long way to go in my language journey, but I am grateful to know some and be able to share a bit with you all tonight. I thought tonight I would share a few stories that I really connected with, that I've enjoyed, and I think are important teaching stories in our Anishinaabe cosmology, way of looking at the world and natural world and our place in it. So I'm gonna tell a few of those, and I'll do it kind of in a hybrid Ojibwe English kind of thing. Any Ojibwe I use, I'll give a translation for the folks. Well, for everybody, wherever you are in your language learning journey. So, the first story I want to tell is the origin of dogs. Now, this story I was grateful to be able to share with KBFT. And I wanted to tell it again in this context. So, Ingoding me oja giyayad nish ininiwag. Long ago, this one time, there were these two men, and they went out on their canoe, their G-man, and they were paddling through the Great Sea. Not sure where they were going, but while they were out there, there was a huge storm. They were lost in the storm. It blew them all over. There were huge waves and tempests and lightning and thunder. And just when they thought they were going to capsize and drown, they found themselves in a Mayagia king, a strange land. They left their canoe and came onto this shore. Now, they examined their canoe to see if they would be able to repair it, but unfortunately, their jiman, their canoe, was completely destroyed. As they were walking around, they noticed on the beach a giant arrow, one way bigger than any person could ever use. It was taller than they were. They also found these enormous footprints. And as they were looking and puzzling to each other what this could mean, where they could be, they suddenly heard a strange boom, 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 and the earth shook. At this point, they were understandably very afraid. They heard it again, boom, 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 earth shaking. And then coming out towards them, they noticed a giant being, a Masabe. This Masabe came to them and they were very scared, but the Masabe said, don't be afraid, you all. I called you here. I invited you because I knew that there was things that the Anishinaabe would need. So I invited you here. Come with me back to my home. I want to teach you and give you some gifts. And not seeing any other option, agreed to go with the Masabe to his home. Now, when they were arriving there, they were coming to a Gitchewansh, a great cave. And they saw there, this must be the home of the giant. But as they were arriving, they heard again terrible sounds, and they were very scared. Now, Masabe, the giant, knew what this was, and he took them in and said, don't worry, I'm going to hide you, keep you safe. He put them into his garment, into his shirt, whatever giants wear, and hid these two Anishinaabe. Now, they could still see out into what was going on. And out of this Gitchewansh, this huge cave, came another giant being. But this one, whereas the Masabe was strong and healthy looking, this one was sickly and thin and frail and ugly, and just had a horrible voice. And it came out. And this other being came up to Masabe and said, I smell Anishinaabe on you. You have Anishinaabe. Give them to me so that I can eat them. At that point, they knew this was a Wendigo. Now, the Masabe said, I have no Anishinaabe here. There's nothing for you to eat. But the Wendigo said, no, you're lying. I know you have them. Give them to me so I can eat these Anishinaabe. Well, at that point, the giant said, come into my home. Let's sit down. Wendigo agrees, and they sit down. Now, the Anishinaabe also glance out, and they see there's a bowl upside down on the floor. And the giant takes the bowl, and the men hear from the bowl, there's a strange sound coming. The giant lifts up the bowl, and they see a creature under there, unlike anything they've ever seen. It's a very strange creature to them. And it shakes, and it grows, and gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And they don't know what to make of this. But the giant says, Boshkwadosh, which must be the name of this creature. Take care of this Wendigo. Boshkwadosh, which is the name of this creature, runs up and grabs the Wendigo and drags him outside of the Gitchewansh, the great cave. And they hear there is a great struggle happening outside of this cave, these two Anishinaabe. And it's implied through that the giant says, I need you to kill this Wendigo so that our small Anishinaabe friends will be safe. So they hear this great struggle between the Wendigo and Boshkwadosh. And after a while, the struggle stops, and Boshkwadosh comes back in to the cave. And the giant brings the men out of his garment and sets them down and says, you don't have a way to get home. The ocean, the sea is too deep, it's too wide, it's too dangerous. And your jiman, your canoe, is destroyed. You don't have a way home. I also know that where you come from, you don't have creatures like Boshkwadosh. Boshkwadosh is an animush, a dog. I want you to take Boshkwadosh. He will take you home and get you there safely. Now, The giant gave them other teachings, but after a time, he brought them back to the shore of the sea and said, Bosh Godosh, take these home hairless, because Bosh Godosh means hairless. That was the name of this dog. He puts them on the back of this giant dog, and Bosh Godosh goes out into the sea, and he's walking. But even though it's across this huge sea, the water never comes above his knees. Now they're traveling, and suddenly they see Anishinaabe, a king, land of the Anishinaabe, and they realize they're close to home. But Bosh Godosh starts to shrink and get smaller. Now they're only maybe a mile or two away from land at this point. Bosh Godosh has gotten too small to carry. He's now the size of a regular dog. So they got to swim for it. So they swim and they get to shore. And they find they're not far from their village. They go home to their village and they present Bosh Godosh to everybody and say, this is a gift from Masabe, from the giant, and he will be our companion and helper in all things. And from that day on, Anishinaabe always had dogs, and every Anamush that you know or have ever seen is a child of Bosh Godosh, that first dog. And this is where we get dogs. You. That's all.
Oh, wow. There's a lot of teachings about dogs that we've come across, whenever we've been working or when I've been working with some of our elders, and it's great to hear a story like that. I've never heard that one before.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Well, I'm glad I could share it. That's a very old one. There are versions of this that were recorded by various people even hundreds of years ago. I think like some of Schoolcraft, who was one of the first to document Ojibwe stories. But
that's another. Well, for people that may not know that are joining us, some of the stories that you'll hear, the one that was just shared, has been passed down orally, generation to generation, and for hundreds of years. And those stories are likely, even thousands of years old. They just weren't recorded or talked about in books, and so a lot of these stories can be about anything. They can, the reason that, I interpret it to be Otazukan, and we refer to Otazukan as living like a living being, is because you learn so much from them. And every time you hear them, it's just like going to visit a family member or somebody older that can teach you something about, whether that be what you see in nature or whether that be how you act in regular life. So I appreciate you sharing that knowledge with us.
Yeah, of course. And I want to talk about that word Otazukan for a second, actually. Otazukan does mean traditional stories, but it also means a helping spirit. So your personal helping spirit might be your Otazukan. And I just was reflecting on that when I was preparing to come and thinking through the stories I wanted to tell, and how every time I think about them and now getting to tell them, I learn a little more. They really are living beings that speak to us. That's why it's very important to care for them and make sure, like this whole thing is about, we pass them on, and we pass them on in the language as much as we can. So I do have a couple more, if that's okay, if I got some time.
Yeah, go for it. We appreciate all that you'll give us. All
right. So the next couple stories are have to do with birds. But before I tell them, I just want to talk about birds a little bit. I love birds. I am a bird nerd. I will be walking around. I am fortunate to live near a beautiful lake here in St. Paul, Ishkabugazibing, which means the place of the river of the new leaf, or the budding river. And it's a beautiful habitat for many birds, and I just love to see them. Now, birds are very, very special, which is why so many of our clans are based on birds. I myself am Magize, which is a bald eagle. But our leader clans, of course, as you may know, are Ajjak, the crane, and Mang, the loon. So it's interesting that it's not just and there is even a clan that's just bird clan, but that there's this kind of primacy of birds, and there's so many wonderful stories about them. And the birds are understood too to be manadug, to be spirits, supernatural beings, because they can do so many things we cannot do, and that they can travel between our world and another world. So I have a few bird stories, and one other one, a Nanabuju story. Well, that's a bird story too, and a story of Spider Woman if I have time. But so I'll tell my next one. This next story I really love, and I want this story to be one that's told more often. So this is one of the stories of Monengwane. Now, Monengwane is a flicker. Sometimes they're called, they have a lot of names. Sometimes they're called sapsucker. Sometimes they're called yellow hammer, yellow flicker, northern flicker. But usually if you say flicker, people know what kind of bird you're talking about. So this is a story of how Monengwane got to have his brilliant feathers. Ingode, mewasha, gia getcha waju, ishkode, gi bapash, bashki bashkiz eu waju. Mi dashkakana ingyo away siya gize kisewad. Onje ao onje eu shkode ka mujag shkode gakana mujag daje bemadisi wad ingyo away siya. One time long ago, there was a huge mountain of fire that exploded. And when that was happening, there was fire everywhere. And the animals were terrified because the fire was burning everything and was all over the place. And they had nowhere to go. The animals didn't know what to do. Going kenda siwad da jichigewad. They were traveling about running, but everything was on fire. Well, then comes in Monengwane, the flicker. And he is a very brave bird. He dives down right at the fire, at the heart of the volcano, and he beats his wings powerfully. And he's driving the fire back. The fire is still huge and enormous, and he's burning, and he feels his feathers burning and charring, turning black as he beats, but he does not give up. He flaps furiously, determined to save all of the animals and to save Anishinaabe too, because the fire was destroying the villages and killing people everywhere. No one could do anything. He was the only one who could get in close enough. And he found as he beat his wings harder and harder, furiously against this Ishkode Waju, this volcano, this fire mountain, the flames started to recede and go back. Even though he felt himself burning, he would not give up because he knew if he did, they could grow again and it wouldn't end. Eventually, through all of his strength and all the power that he had within him, this little bird, who's only about that big, was able to drive back the flames from the volcano and save everybody and drive it back into the earth and put out the fires. From that time on, Monengwane had black spots on his front where the fire had burned him. And under his wings was brilliant orange, and his tail as well, where he had spread all of his feathers and beat back the fire. He holds on to that time. He holds on to that time when he committed this heroic act and saved so many lives. And he holds those marks of that victory on him. So today, Monengwane is known as a warrior bird. Now, you might recognize the word Monengwane a little bit because it's a very important word beyond just the creature. In our great migration story, the last place the Anishinaabe ended, where food grows on water, where they knew their migration, our ancestors' migration was complete, was on a place known as Monengwane Kaning Minis, the place of many Monengwane, of many flickers, or yellow-breasted woodpeckers, they're sometimes called, which is not a name I think does them justice. Now, it's also known as a synonym for warriors, Moningwane is a warrior bird and is known as a warrior. So the other understanding of that name is the place of warriors, the place that all the warriors would gather and we would have our capital. From there, we spread out. I believe it was from there that our ancestors eventually came to Nett Lake and Bois Forte. But this understanding of Moningwane, the yellow flicker, as being a warrior bird is not just an Anishinaabe understanding. A number of tribes, and I don't know how many, but I have heard it mentioned a few times, talk of Moningwane as a warrior. So whenever you see one, it's good to know that that bird is a warrior that protected all of us and is a good sign. So it's always good to see Moningwane, and I'm always, when I see them migrating in the fall, and they're one of few woodpeckers that migrate, it's always, it's a very special experience to me to see them. I always am very excited to see them. How? It's a story, one story of Moningwane. So I just love that story. And like I said, I'm a total bird nerd. So I hope that you all, when you see Moningwane, maybe out in the wild, especially in the fall, you can appreciate how powerful this bird is and how much medicine they carry, and that it's a good thing to see them, that they care very deeply about Anishinaabe because they're willing to risk their lives so that we could continue. So again, mentioned there's another bird story I wanted to tell, and this is also an Nanabuju story, actually. This is also a very old Nanabuju story, and it's one that I really like because it's more of an epic. A lot of these Nanabuju stories are really fun. They're very silly sometimes. They're funny. This one's not funny, but this shows Nanabuju's heroic side and the side of him that's dedicated to his family. And I really like it's an epic, you could say, as well. And again, like I mentioned, this is also a very old story. This is one of the older ones. Again, these stories are older than when they were recorded, of course, but some of them have been recorded. And this one goes back quite far. You hear some more modern stories of Nanabuju, like Nanabuju plays baseball, which is, a fun story. Why not? Nanabuju probably would play baseball, but that's, of course, a more modern story. So let's get into it. Ingoding, Mewisha. Omishumis Nanabuju, Giba Bamase, Mashkiki ke Nupaming. Long ago, the grandfather of Nanabuju was out gathering medicine out in the Bagwaj, out in the wilds, in the natural places. Now, when Nanabuju was home with Okumisa, his grandmother, who was not doing well, sadly. His grandfather was gathering very important medicine. It was the only thing that could keep his grandmother alive because her health was failing. And they waited and waited, and he wasn't coming home. And they decided, this is too long, this is unnatural. Something happened to Nimishumis, to my grandfather. So Nanabuju at that point decides to call the Jisakid. Jisakid is the person who has the shake tent and who can, through using the shake tent and consulting with the Manadug, can learn things. So he consults the Jisakid and he says, do you know where my grandfather is? I cannot find him. He should be home. He was gathering medicine and my grandmother needs this. The Jisakid goes into his Jisakwan, the shake tent, and does his ceremony, comes back and says, your grandfather is dead. He was killed by the evil giant Migaswan. And of course, Nanabuju is devastated by this. His beloved grandfather has been taken from him too soon. He vows at that point that something must be done. He asks the Jisakid again, what must I do? I need to seek vengeance for my grandfather. The Jisakid says to him, you must fast for a vision and call a council of war. to see what you can do. Migasquan is extremely powerful and is very evil and wicked. If you are to go against him, you will need to be completely prepared. Buju agrees. Before his fast, he knows his grandmother does not have much time. He stays with her until she passes away shortly after. At that point, he goes on his fast. And through that time, he also him. And they tell him where Migasquan is. They say he lives on an island, but that island is very far away and it's very hard to get to. Gitchawasa iu Minis, very far away is that island. But they tell him how to get there. And they say, Wewenesago, be careful with this Migasquan, because he is very powerful and he cannot be beaten normally or by normal means. To defeat him, you must gather brown flint that can only be found Mushkodeng on the prairies. You also must make your arrow shafts out of white oak. And then once your arrows are completed, bring them to the Memegwesiwag, the little people who live in stones and live on the edge of the lakes. I believe there's a few that live on Net Lake even. I've heard a few stories about them there. And at that point, follow the directions we have given you and go seek Migasquan. Buju agrees. He does what he was told. He gathers the brown flint from Mushkodeng, the prairies, the white oak, and he has a good relationship with the Memegwesiwag. They agree to give his arrows power. Sometimes it's called blessing, but I don't know that that's the best word, but they agree to give these arrows a spiritual power. At that point, he gets into his jiman, his canoe, and he starts to paddle the direction they told him to go. Now, one of the things they told him when he was going is that the water around the island where Migasquan lives is greasy and muddy and will get your canoe stuck. You won't be able to get out. So you must bring bear grease to smother your canoe so that it can slide through this oily, gross water. So he does this. He coats his canoe and it is able to slide through this gross water. Before he can get there, one of the things guarding this island is these Gitchikanebig, these great snakes, great serpents, great horned serpents even. Now, there's many stories of the great horned serpents, but right now there were many of them guarding this island. Some of them could even breathe fire. As he came towards this island, Gitchikanebig reared up out of the water and they said, "We know who you are, Nenebuju. We know what you're here for. You won't get past us." And they attack him. Now, Nenebuju doesn't want to waste his arrows. He brought with him 2 war clubs. He pulls out 1 war club. And as one of the Gitchikanebig comes towards him, he raises it and smashes its head. And then another one comes and he's just smashing through all of them, not slowing down at all because he has to get there. He has to make Migasquan pay for what he's done to his family. And he breaks through all of these Gitchikanebig, these great horned serpents, until he comes to the shore of the island. Now, as he arrives, his war clubs are destroyed, and his fights with the Gitchikanebig, they were all broken. He cast them aside, saving his arrows from Migasquan, knowing that that's the only thing that can beat the giant. As he enters the island, he hears boom, 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 and he sees Migasquan coming up to him, and he says, "Wenebuju, I know who you are. I know why you have come here. You will never defeat me, and I will destroy you." Migasquan, or Wenebuju, pulls out his arrow. Midash Wiko Badun, he pulls back an arrow, and he lets fly that arrow right at the evil giant. But the arrow bounces off, doesn't do anything. These were the special arrows. They were the arrows with power. This is supposed to work. He fires again. Same thing. They bounce off. And he notices why he's called Migasquan then when he comes into the light and he sees a brilliant shine coming off him. Migasquan means pearl feather or shell feather. Amigas, amigas can mean a couple things, but it can mean what's commonly referred to in English and other indigenous languages as wampum, which is these shell beads that are used to make these brilliant jewelry and belts for many important things. He has an entire suit of armor made out of this that is too strong for the arrows. And Wenabuju knows he can't stop though, because if he stops firing these arrows, Migasquan is going to come at him and he's going to just kill him. So he's keeping going. He's running out of arrows, and Wenabuju is getting nervous. He only has one arrow left now, and Migasquan is able to get a little closer. At that point, out of the sky comes and lands on a tree next to Nenabuju, Meme. Meme is the pileated woodpecker, and he's this giant bird. He says to Wenabuju, Wenabuju, you have to fire your last arrow right on his head, on his scalp lock, where you see one lock of hair. Now, this time, those of you who maybe wear a roach in your regalia, or maybe have seen older hairstyles, scalp lock is just a little piece of hair, right around there. And it back in the day, the men would shave their heads and leave just this little piece of hair, kind of taunting people like, yeah, come and get it. And that's other story, other history. So we won't need to get into all of that. I want this to be an all ages thing. So he takes careful aim, knowing this is his last shot, his only shot. And he sees it and he releases the last arrow. And even though the arrow is swift, it feels like an eternity as it flies through the air. And Wenabuju holds his breath, watching it fly. And it lands right in Migasquan's head. And Migasquan staggers and falls dead on the ground. Wenabuju has avenged his grandfather. As he lays there, now defeated, blood starts to flow out of him. Wenabuju calls over Meme. He says, thank you for giving me this victory. He takes the blood and he puts it over the back of Meme's head, giving him a crest of red there. He says, you will always be a symbol for victory now. Now, back in the day, I mentioned how Muningwane is a warrior bird, but so is Meme. You would have Meme's feathers perhaps on your pipe to show victory. And you would see men going to war would often wear red, either red feathers or red in their hair as a war medicine to protect them in this journey. And that is how Meme, and why Meme today still has red on the back of his head. Story of Meme Nenabuju.
Wow. Miigwech.
Also, how much time have I used?
No, you're right on time. That was about 30 minutes.
Oh, okay.
So you're not.
Cool. Good. Well, I had I'll say one other thing about Meme, and then I'll I'll pass it on to the next speaker. So there's also one of the oldest lullabies that I know in Anishinaabe is a gift from Meme. And it's just sung his name as a gift to mothers and for their little children. And it's sung, me, 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 and you repeat that. So Meme is really interesting because he's a warbird, but he's also a bird for soothing babies. So yeah, I'm again just so grateful. It means so much to be able to share with you all and be invited by the Cultural Center and Jalen Miigwech and my cousin Darren. Thanks for putting my name out there also. But I'll let it go to the next speaker. Miigwech Kinawa. Miigwech Gibson.
Yeah, it's good to have, like I said at the beginning, it's good to have new people coming in and sharing their knowledge with us, and especially, having people like reconnect with the community back here, because a lot of good people, like I said, earlier, that there's a lot of good people doing great things out there. And once we can find out and get those points of contact, it's, usually just one call or one text message or one DM away from helping out with the community. So I appreciate you coming back. And we definitely are going to make sure we use you more often for tap into your knowledge there.
Me guys, Jalen, that so much. I'm always happy. You talk about repping Bois Forte. I live down here in the cities, and I'm always repping Bois Forte strong. There's plenty of reps from a couple other nations down here, but I was like, yeah, but Bois Forte's where it's at. So very proud to be from this place.
Sure. And that's something that we like. Peyton's from Turtle Mountain, the Turtle Mountain tribe. So she grew up out on the res over there, and they have 35,000 members compared to our 3,500. So right. Pretty much everywhere you go, at any conference that you go to, there's always a Turtle Mountain person there, and so it's that the pride. The Bois Forte people have to show a little bit more pride than Turtle Mountain people.
We got to be that much more, like Turtle Mountain rolls deep everywhere.
Exactly. Yeah. I want to give a shout out to KBFT for helping sponsor us and getting our, the Heritage Center's name out there, but also the traditional healing program out there for the tribe. Peyton's going to, she's doing some great things. She had a good event last night with Hope Flanagan, and, more things to come, I guess, in the future. And if we're able to get over, once we get over COVID, when we're able to get back in person, we'd love to have a lot more of these events in person and able to connect more than just like over a screen. And so we appreciate, you helping on now, and hopefully soon we'll be able to get back together and have you come up and, be able to make all these connections and everything. And I guess with that, we'll move on to our next speaker. Eileen, she had the opportunity to introduce herself and maybe talk a little bit about like what she plans on doing with the degrees that she's going for. And again, another person that, in my opinion, is gonna be able to come back to the community and hopefully be able to help out and bring some more of that knowledge that she's gotten throughout her other experiences and be able to apply them within the community. So Eileen, if you want to unmute yourself and reintroduce yourself to the people that are watching.
Bonjour, Sinikwe Indigu, Eileen Indigenous Jaganashi Moning. My name is Asinikwe, stone woman, Eileen in English. I still get really nervous, so I'm really sorry. Thank you for having me here. This is an awesome event. It's my first time doing something like this, so bear with me. What I have is a story that we've told in class. I've studied at the University of Minnesota, and where the classes are designed so that we tell stories on our own. This one I'll read, and then in the language, and then I'll offer an English translation. It is Southwest Ojibwe dialect, and maybe even it shows like some words that might even be used more frequently, like in Red Lake, for example. I'm not really sure. There's not a name on this story. Some of you may be familiar with it. It's one of the more silly stories of that, where Nana Buju is the main character, or the kind of told from his perspective, if you will. Nana Buju Nagai Onabwaka Manesan, Nana Buju and his smart berries. I'll just jump right in here. Minoagiwe Nana Buju Baba Maj Jagam Gamed Eji Nagish Gawad Wij Anishinaabe Eji Ka Gwejmikod Nan Buj Giwi Ka Gwejmin Gegu Aninda Gin Wenji Nabuakayan Misa Nana Buju Eji Nakwetawad Anana Nabaka Mane Sanisa Nina Bane Namijanan Misa Eji Golden New Wij Anishinaabe Anindi Dashiko Wendinaman and you Nabaka Mane San Gainin and Da Mijanan Nabaka Mane San Misa Nana Buj Eji Nakamad Ambe we Jewishin Giga Wabanda in Wendinaman Misa Eji Nakomegod How Giga Babawi Jewin Misa Eji Jawa de Ma Megwe Kob O Wabanda Ad Aya Magadane Ginu Nibwaka Manesan Nena Buju Eji God Misa O Wabuzu Mikanes Miomad Jimikamang Ginu Nibwaka Manesan Oh Mina Oma Misa Nena Buju Eji Ma Minganang and you wabozu muis Eji and in a moad in you o weji wagunan Misa Eji Mamod Ao Beba Gikno Amowind Aneji Jakamod Bejik Ishte Wabozu muis sanasa we no Gawin na wakamane sanawan sanun Nena Buju Eji Nakwetawad Mi Guayak Gawi Nabwaka Mane Sanawan Sanun and you Mi Ajikwa Gaigi Nani Nabwakayan meet you. Okay, so the English version, I hope some of you understood some of that. And I hope I get better at this and I'm doing it on my own and I can do better storytelling technique and all of that. The English version, Nana Buju and his smart berries. Again, it is said Nana Buju was out walking the lake when he met his fellow Anishinaabe and he asks, Nana Buj, I want to ask you something. Why are you so smart? Nana Buju answers him, because I always eat smart berries. So then that Anishinaabe asks him, where do you get these berries from? I too could eat some berries. Nana Buju answers him, come with me, I'll show you where I get them. Okay, he replies, I'll go with you. So they then go into the bush and he showed him where those smart berries were at. Nana Buju says, that rabbit trail there, you'll find those smart berries. Oh, okay, here? So then Nana Buju collects that rabbit poop and hands it to his friend. And that one that's learning so much pops one in his mouth. Ishte, he says, this is like rabbit poop. These are not smart berries. Nana Buju answers him, yep, that's right. Those are not smart berries. See, you're getting smarter already. Meet you. Thank you for listening to me, Miigwech Bisintawayeg. That's what I got right now for now. Next time, hopefully I'll do more. Thanks, you guys.
Yeah, no, it's anything is much appreciated. You know, I think like half the battle, honestly, is just being able to have the courage to speak outside of just the classroom. I know like that's something that I've kind of struggled with even to this day, is just being able to speak outside of like a structured area. But you know, classroom is nice to have, especially if you have something that like you're all working on and you're all able to do. And so something that we're looking forward to trying to do, at least virtually at the moment, is trying to get it like this language class going. I'm hoping to be able to do one in all the different, like kind of the urban settings, I suppose. So we'll have like a one down in the cities and the metro area. We'll hopefully have one if we can get a teacher out in Bemidji and hopefully have one in Duluth as well as up here for the kind of the Iron Range, and hopefully being able to, and in the community here. And I hope that I'm able to have someone like that, the dialectual differences. One of the things reading these stories, people can range anywhere, even just from like the name of Nanabuju, and some people call them Wenaboj and Wenabojo and all these, other things. And I think it's important to have, our dialect out there, and hopefully we can, again, like I said earlier, be able to document the dialect in the area here as much as we can, so that we can kind of take what we need, I guess, and apply it to some of the projects that we're doing, and hopefully pass it on.
Yeah, for sure. And I stuck with this as far as dialect goes, just because I'm still learning just sort of basic language structure. And then also on top of that, learning what Nett Lake Bois Forte dialect sounds like and how it's different from Southwest dialect. So I hope to get to a point where there's more and more I can incorporate the dialect that's more commonly spoken in Nett Lake and Vermilion. This I see as like a temporary kind of thing for me anyway. So definitely learning, documenting, teaching, whatever we need to do. Look forward to it.
Yeah, and one of the biggest things that we need to do is just become more okay with speaking to each other, I think, and hopefully we can get more people that are willing to come and speak and talk at some of these events. And we'll try to bring back the language as a whole. One of the things I kind of say to people whenever they ask me, and like I would rate myself as like a language speaker is probably the equivalent to maybe 6 or 7 years old. I can, communicate, but I'm not going to be able to like do a whole conversation on any sort of topic, which is something that I'm hoping to get to at one point in my lifetime. And, it's just kind of getting that courage to be out there. And, we had Brian on earlier, but same thing with something like drumming or dancing. You just got to find the courage to be able to go out there and have the environment at least that would kind of nurture that. And, if we can get started with our younger people, and even like the adults, because one of the stories that I think about, I guess, is one of our elementary school teachers at Nett Lake. His previous job was working over in Chisholm, which is kind of, a local town around the area, but he had a kid from, I don't know what country that his parents immigrated from. I'll just say the Philippines as like a base thing because it's somewhere over in Asia. Anyways, this kid, even though he progressed through first through third grade, his English speaking abilities never really improved too much. And so like the superintendent at the time, he was kind of asking like, well, what's going on? Like, why isn't this kid learning English? Are we not? Because he's in full immersion over here. And it turns out that like whenever he'd go home, all he was really getting was like the Filipino language, or the Philippines. I don't know the language for the Philippines, but so like, I talk about a lot of like the adults. I'm kind of an adult, but I don't feel like an adult. Anyways, I tell like all my adult friends and family members, like even if we get an immersion school, you still need to hear it at home. You still need to be able to speak it, because just if you're hearing it and you're not actually speaking it, it's hard to learn that way. So I appreciate you being able to have the courage to speak here, and put yourself out there and kind of be in that vulnerable space. So we appreciate that.
Yeah, I think it's I think learning language at various ages in life can be challenging in different ways, depending on where you're at. Like as a young person, it has challenges, and then as an older person like me, it has other different kind of challenges. So meeting people where they're at is important, and then also, like you said, providing support for an immersion environment for the adults and family at home. That's always been something I've thought about since I've begun language learning. So I don't know, it'd be nice to be able to provide something like that someday.
Yeah, and hopefully we can get to a point where we can get back to, KBFTs used to do like the immersion camps, their seasonal immersion camps, and hopefully we can get that back, but then also in addition to that, have like a more frequent thing leading up to that, so that, we can kind of maintain like the language learning. And then once we get to these immersion camps, then it's full on like learning mode, and increase the language, hopefully, as much as possible.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Do you have anything else to say? Otherwise, if not, we can.
Just the last thought I have is just at some point, just like creating, I think it's important to create an environment where it's safe to make mistakes. And that's all I was thinking as far as like working with people, working with everybody, basically. And that can be challenging, but I think it's totally possible. And it can be a lot of fun. Like people have been saying, language learning doesn't have to be all serious. So yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the things that, you got to be able to talk about anything if you're really going to want to bring back the language. So, you're going to have to talk about, is Winnie Gobble likes to say, like bumming money off people.
Right. Yeah.
Part of society is, going up to your mom or your dad or your uncle, your auntie, anybody's, hey, you got $5, like that's part of the language that needs to come back to you. So we'll eventually get there.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Miigwech. Again, giving a shout out to KBFT. You can go to their website, kbft.org. Otherwise, they also have an app that you can look up, download, and you can listen to, their daily shows that they have going on there. They play some good music, and then even outside of work time, they play like the World Cafe. Whenever I had COVID, I listened to that, kind of just had that playing in the background. They play anything from jazz to cover artists and stuff like that. So it's pretty cool. So another shout out to KBFT and the Traditional Cultural Healing program through the Health and Human Services Division of the Tribal Council. Terry, are you ready to go? You're on mute, Niji.
I think I'm ready.
All right, Ginatum, Niji.
All right. What he just said is it's my turn. I know, your turn, basically. Gimme Tum is your turn. Nimmy Tum is my turn. So my name is Terry Goodsky. I guess I'm the old dog of this group here. I'm age 51. I come from Terry Goodsky, an indigenous cause, Nemain and Dode, Menominee, Jagai, Gun, Nindun Jaba. My name is Terry Goodsky. I'm actually Sturgeon Clan. I come from the Bois Forte Reservation. I currently live in White Earth. And I am and I do my best right now to make sure that the language stays alive and some of our cultures stay alive. And I've been a singer for over 30 years. Started out with the guys from Lake Vermilion, and then and we were taught by Harold Ledfeather down at the Vermilion Social Center, down in the gym, and just we basically learned 4 songs, a flag song, a veteran song, an intertribal, and a sneak up. And that's we would go down there every Tuesday and Thursday. And that's when Harold was there. And we learned from him. And let's go. Yeah, we learned how to sing from him. We learned how to keep the first thing we did was learn how to actually keep beat, with his style. And then over so many years now that we've learned. And then I start singing with actually the Bois Forte singers, my dad, my brother, Kurt. Of the other groups that we used to just travel with and have fun with, the guys from there's so many groups out there. Whitefish Bay, Northern Wind, just to name just a few. But yeah, and even it came to a point where it come to my turn to be a teacher. And and people ask me, well, have you ever thought about teaching singers? And I was like, yeah, I could. And I started teaching in Duluth. When I lived in Duluth, Minnesota, I started teaching at Nettleton. And then I started teaching at Grant. And then I started teaching over there. And I was teaching like the elementary schools. Then he asked me, goes, why don't you teach at the middle schools too? I said, okay. So, and then I started try to teach at the middle schools, but the whatchamacall just wasn't there. I said the learning spirit just wasn't there. So then he asked me, he goes, well, why don't you teach at the high schools? There was Central at the time, then East and Denfeld. So I said, well, all right, I'll try East. There wasn't really any interest there. So I went to Denfeld, and some of my singers that I've taught are still out there on the Apollo Trail. One of my singers actually that I've taught is Nicholas Deshawn. Nick, he used to sing with us when he lived in Duluth. Him and the other Nick. So then we just start, we transformed from the high school group to an adult group, and we still had we used to do things, and I try to teach when we sing is that there's different not jobs, but positions, duties around the drum. And I try to emphasize that, I try to emphasize, the lead singer is not always the same person as the drum keeper. The drum keeper takes care of the drum, and what he does, he takes care of the drum, and that that the drum represents the heartbeat of Mother Earth, and where it came from it came from the Dakota people. The Dakota people were being pressured by the U.S. government. The government wanted to know more about natives and Indians. And they saw that this drum was something that was important to the Dakota people. And the Dakota and the Ojibwe were always at war here in Minnesota. So when it came time for the cavalry to try to come in and, to get the drum, the Dakota people, as my father, Harold, told me, he goes, they gave the drum as a gift to the people of Red Lake. And it came with a medicine bundle and 4 songs. And from there, it went everywhere. But it was actually an offering of peace to the people of Red Lake between the two factions, Ojibwe and the Dakota. And it's crazy because, who better to give an offering of peace to was one of your enemies in a kind of a sign of peace. But they didn't want the white man to have it. And even nowadays, well, the lead singer is the one. He's the one that sets the as a lead singer, as a drum keeper, he's the one that takes care of the drum. And to him, it's a living being. It represents a living being because it has the shell made of a tree. That has the spirit. It also has the spirit of that animal, whatever animal it is, whether it's elk, moose, buffalo, even horse. It carries that spirit with it. And also the shell is a tree made of wood. So that also has a spirit in it too. So the drum keeper, when he takes the drum home, when he sets it up, he never really leaves it on its side. He always sets it up. And what he does is that drum is either a grandfather or a grandmother. And it's just like a member of his family. And he never puts the drum, in the attic. You never put your grandpa in the attic. You never put your grandpa in the basement, dusty, moldy basement. No, when I used to go to my dad's house all the time, my dad would have his traditional drum like right next to the TV in the living room. And so, as a drum keeper myself, well, we have a couple drums at home. We have a big drum. Then we have another big drum. Then we have what we call a soldier's drum. And those are the kinds, the bass drums. And those have a story behind it too. But I'll get to that. Let's get back to the duties of the drum keeper. He takes care of the drum, and he can either feast it once a year or 4 times a year. He does his best to make like a traditional offering to the spirits for the drum, the thanks for the kind of a thank you ceremony for the drum. And it can be whatever, it doesn't have to be always wild rice and, whatever you have, say wild rice and, or it'd be cooked wild rice or pop rice and maple syrup or berries or, moose meat, the really traditional foods. It can be whatever really you want the spirits to have. It doesn't always have to be a traditional food. It can be, whatever you're having, whether it's, hamburger or, hamburgers, fries, it's as long as it's that offering with that tobacco that you put out. And so he makes sure that the drum is taken care of, that it's not, played on, it's not beaten, I've, seen some drums that were not taken care of where animals peed on the blanket, where it was, and I'm like, this is not how you're not supposed to take care of this drum. You wouldn't let an animal pee on your grandfather or your grandmother. So, kind of put it up. You don't have to put it on the shelf. You can put it on a shelf, but make sure that he's going to stay warm, that he's going to be in a part of the room where, he's part of your family. You take care of that. There's always other duties around the drum besides the drum keeper, the lead singer, the lead beater, and and even back home, like in Bois Forte, I sing with the traditional drums, and I know, I don't just try to take over somebody else's spot. There's the 7 directions. Somebody sits in the north, somebody sits in the east, somebody sits in the west, somebody sits in the south. And I ask, hey, where do I sit? And they tell me. And I say, okay, yeah, I just don't just try to barge in and do my own thing. I listen to the elders, and and they say, well, do you remember I can't remember all the songs, but they said, do you remember this? Sometimes even I need a refresher course, and but I do sit at the traditional drum. And as a singer and a teacher, I try to tell mainly the guys about where the drum comes from and what it represents and the teachings behind it about, the drum came from a woman, the Dakotas, and it originally came from a woman. And she had a dream about it while she was hiding from the Calgary in the Army, and she told the men about it, and they constructed this, and that was the first drum and what it represented. And there's teaching behind that too. You always make sure, to try to be respectful to the drum. You don't drink or use drugs around the drum. You don't come to the drum impaired, and the lead singer should know that. And and when you take care of a drum, and you are in a respectful way, people will recognize that, and people will invite you to places, and say, hey man, this group is, they're young, they respect the drum, they respect the people, and when they sit around the drum, that's what it means to to be respectful and to honor that. And it's good to know where the songs come from, the meanings behind the songs. Every song, whether it's either dreamt of or given to, or when we first started singing, we looked up to a lot of different drum groups, Black Lodge, Blackstone, Whitefish Juniors, Whitefish Bay, and when we wanted to sing their songs, we went about it in a respectful way, and we offered these drum groups, their lead singers, tobacco and a little junia, a little money. We always had it. Everybody always had a tape recorder. Say, hey, we're just learning the songs, and we want to sing, a certain song of yours, and we give them tobacco and a little money, the tape recorder, and said, could you please tell us, could you please, give the song, can we get permission to sing that song? And it's we went about that way, and the lead singer has always had, well, this is what the song means, whether it was in, Ojibwe or Cree or even Nakota. They explained to us what the song meant in the words, and we, over the years, we sang other people's songs too. Songs from Little Otter, other drum group songs, but we've always mainly, and then we got to a point where we started learning our own songs and getting out there and just having fun. And it to be even at this age now, as we all are, most of the guys from Lake Vermilion, the original Lake Vermilions, we've lost some over the years due to drugs and alcohol, and now we're community members, role models, and we're in our 40s and late 40s. Some of us are in our late 30s, early 40s, early 45s. I'm age 50, and I'm still out there having fun, and I'm still out there being respectful. But the thing here is now that I'm in an age where I'm, the language is important, and I try to make the Ojibwe language interesting to learn and to have fun. When you learn something, it shouldn't be all serious. You should actually enjoy what you're doing. And I'm not a fluent speaker, nor do I claim to be. But what I do know, I do try to pass on to the younger generation. And currently, right now, what I'm doing is I'm working with the mental health program over here in White Earth. I work with inpatient and outpatient teenagers over here in White Earth, and I, Oshki Do and Bemidji, and the Circle Back program here in White Earth, and I have a list of words that I remember from my youth. Words, bizon, crazy, no, yes, mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, body parts, 4 directions, 4 colors. And I can tell you right now, just right off the bat, I can't read Ojibwe. I cannot read any new words that I don't know. I'm getting to the age where I can't really learn, but the words that I do know and do know by heart, I do try to pass on to the younger generation. And at one time, I did have a stringent class rule that out of the 150 words that I presented to the students, you could only miss like 20 words or else you failed. And actually, but the thing is with the Ojibwe language, you have to put the work in. It's not going to come easy. Yeah, repetition. Use it. Use the language. Even red, mishkwa or mishkwe, red. Use it. Just like that. Even the domino, wabshka. Use it. Use the language. Try to use the language every day. It gets easier and easier to remember if you use it. And but yeah, as I said before, I've as a singer, I've sang with a lot of different groups, and I got to travel a lot of different places. And because of my own misspent youth, there are places where I could have gone, but I was young and dumb. We all get that age where we're young and dumb. I could have went to the Olympics in Atlanta, Georgia, but I was young and dumb. I could have went to France for 6 weeks, but I was young and dumb and kind of messed that deal up. But even now, I'm over here. I'm a role model, and even now as a singer, people ask me to, help to send their relatives on their way. And I know, even though I try to back out of things like this, I'm getting to the age where I am asked to help participate and send their loved ones on the way. And and I try to tell people, I'm not a pipe carrier. I don't have a pipe carrier. I'm not a fluent speaker, but I even try to talk to one of my elders at one time, to see if he could, agree with me and talk my way out of it, and someone said, "Hey man, can you come help me send my relative on the way?" I said, "Well, yeah, probably next week. If I'll give you an answer by Monday." So I went to go talk to one of my elders, and instead I got an ear beating. it was trying to talk to somebody, say, "Hey, I'm nervous. I'm kind of scared. I don't know how we're supposed to do things." And instead I got an ear beating, and it was weird. It's like 50 years old and I'm still getting ear beatings from my elders. Terry, you've been around our people long enough. You know how our people are buried. Whether it's the traditional way, the Meday way, or just, you do your best. And that's all you can do is and when asked is to do your best. Do your best with your knowledge of our customs, our religion, our singing, and just remember that, as I said, we're all gifts from the Creator, and we're known as the Star People, and that's where we come from. And we really don't know how much time we have here on Mother Earth. And I try to tell people that. I was like, we're all gifts. Me, you, we're all gifts of the Creator. And when it's our time to go home, and when we're called home, we're not supposed to feel bad about that. They're there. And even in the language now, the Ojibwe language, we do not have a word for goodbye. We have a word for Gigawabamin Nagach. See you later, Gigawabamin Minoya. See you again, Bama P. Until later, we don't have a word for goodbye. We have lots of different words for good luck. We have words for good luck, but we don't have a word for goodbye. And we don't have a word for you're welcome. We just say, miigwech, thank you. But I could talk about being not a fluent speaker, but I do try to help make learning a little bit easier, even with the language, even if you're counting. I have a sheet of paper I know it's kind of cheating because our language is an oral history, but I have a list of, Ojibwe words. And what I do is the students test me first. They test me and I tell them the correct pronunciation. Even like coffee, Mukade, Mashkiki, Wabu, black medicine water. And even Ikadon Minowa. Say it again, and to try to tell them the pronunciation, whether dialect, whether it's, a White Earth dialect, a Red Lake dialect, a Net Lake dialect. It's a language that has to keep moving forward, evolving, it's a living being. And, but I do, they test me on, on like 150, 170 words, and I give them the pronunciation. Then it's their turn. I say the word hello, they say anin or buju. I try to teach them little tricks of their trades, like, the word bend again. I don't think I'm supposed to be knocking at night, but the word bend again, come here, Ambe Oma. Oma be doing, bring it here. The word water, nibi. Even though it's not water, but nibi. Even though it's Gatorade Zero, but nibi, water, even basic words like, iwete, right there or over there. The word I was taught a long time ago, the word bazan has multiple meanings, and pay attention, behave, listen, the word gibatis, crazy, we all did things when we were youth and crazy. And I heard the first word from my grandpa a long time ago, and we were, just being kids and having fun. My grandpa called us all gibatis, crazy. And but yeah, the language has to continue. And if you can think of different ways to make people for people to learn the language, for people to learn a different way, just one-on-one is the best way to teach the language. That way nobody gets left behind. One-on-one teachings, it's good to be in a classroom to teach, but there's always a few people that, I can't say that, I can't see that. Well, work with them at their pace, not your pace. I hate to be on, on my little listen to me chair or a little soapbox, but listen, teach them at their pace. As we get older, there's we are not really open to new things. But when you're younger, and elementary, middle school, that's where we need to teach our youth the language. I hate to emphasize that there's not many fluent speakers left. My dad was a fluent speaker, and he's no longer with us. All I remember is this Karen Drift from Net Lake right now, who is a fluent speaker. But yeah, I try to make teaching fun, even in the language. I work sometimes an hour and a half with the youth Monday and Wednesdays, and then I work an hour with the youth, and I try to split that up into 45 minutes of teaching the language, then 45 minutes of actually using the language. So what I do, here's one of my, my thugonomics that I say. My teaching is hold up for a second. Let me get my stuff ready here. Is is teaching dominoes. Dominoes is, everybody loves to play dominoes. Everybody, everybody loves to play dominoes. And if you don't, then, this is a good time where I can actually teach you how to play dominoes. So, all right, here, let me show you guys something here. Okay, here we go. Can you see the table? I don't know if you can see the table or not.
Yep.
But 12. The word 12. Ningo Daswe Ashi Bejik. That is 12 right there. But if you add something else to it, then it becomes 17. 12 plus 5 is 17. Madaswe Ashi Nijwashwe. And if you play dominoes, you play off the 6. Then after this, it changes. Nijwashwe. 7. Okay, now it changes again. 9. Madaswe Ashi Bejik. 11. Oh, not that one. Not that domino either. Where did my other domino go? Okay, so let's go like this. So here is an easy way to learn dominoes. You're playing the outside. So what you're doing is you're counting the outside. So this is 5, 3, 2, 15. Madaswe, Ashi, Bejik, Nish, Niswe, Niwin. Madaswe, Ashi, Niwin. And that's basically how you play dominoes. And then you can change the dynamics again. And you're just counting the outside, but using the Ojibwe language. And it's very simple, 2, 2, 4, 3, 11. Madaswe, Ashi, Bejik. And, that's how you have to get them to learn what they want to learn. It's important, take something that they want to learn. It's one of the games that, everybody loves to play dominoes. And when you learn how to play dominoes and you learn how to play the language, and even now, if you can't go in a move, well, then you use the word, you say to somebody, give me Tom, Naomi, it's your turn, Naomi. Daga, please. And you can even play cards with kids. You can play cards with kids and they can learn the language that way too. And there's lots of different ways. It's, even the learning has to evolve. I gotta say this, but nobody wants to just sit there and be bored and say, oh, he's, okay, now we're gonna learn. Today we're gonna learn how to count to 10. Basic knees, Niswe, Niwan, Nanan, Ningo, Daswe, Nishwashwe, Nishwashwe, Jangaswe, Madaswe. Well, then you jump to 20. Nishtana, Niswe, Madana, Nanan, Madana, Ningo, Daswe, Madana, Nishwashwe, Madana, Nishwashwe, Madana, Shangaswe, Madana, Minotwak. 100. So that's about as far as I can go. And even now, my students that I teach in outpatient and inpatient, it's a shameless plug here. We went from this, using double 6s, to where we play the big boys now. We play double 9s. And it's really beautiful that they take, that I can teach them the language, even if it is counting. They'll use the word daga, please, the word gimme tum, bashnege get, guys, good luck, whether it comes, but it's good that they learn something new, even the colors, learn everything every now and then, but to practice it is something else. And, I'm, even as the teacher, I'm proud as a teacher of my singers. Some of them are still out there. Even Nicholas was my singer at one time, and we got to we got to have fun and, sing places. And we sing for a U.S. judge at one time.
We sang for the King of Norway at one point.
Yeah, you're the King of Norway.
That was pretty cool.
And yeah, our delegate, our young guys, and Nicholas and the guys from Duluth, we got to sing for the King of Norway. That was another thing, But Nicholas is, I'm proud of him. I can say that right now. He's family. Brian's my family, my nephew. Basically all the people from that lake are my family. I am proud of them that we're doing our best to keep our language and our culture alive. Whether it's me singing and doing what I can to work with kids still. Yeah, I've been working with kids for almost 20, 30 years now. But yeah, and I'm proud. I'm proud to see the younger generation do things, and hopefully my kids and my grandkids, my grandkids, they're all in Duluth, and they go to Lowell Elementary, and my 6-year-old granddaughter, she knows the language, and just sit there and and kind of try to talk to her, even the colors, the animals, just to hear that is beautiful. And just to see that younger generation picking up and doing more than what I can, and do more than what I did with the language is very beautiful. And and I'd like to thank KBFT for giving me a time to come in and talk a little bit about the drum that I know, a little bit of the language that I know. I can't get into some of the stories. I know a few stories, the Ojibwe stories. I know a few of our customs. We don't whistle at night because we don't know who's going to listen. That's one of the things that I was told a long time ago. Never whistle at night, because you never know who's going to answer your whistle. So we never whistled at night. And but yeah, that's I have fun trying to teach a language, to do other things, other things to the language, and we get to just have fun. And I try to teach you games. I try to teach the Moccasin Game, the rules behind the Moccasin Game, the rules behind the hand games, the teachings of the drum, the teachings of the hand drum, and to incorporate those into the games, and just to see that camaraderie of our people coming together, whether they're young, middle age, old age. They want to learn. Everybody wants to learn a little bit, and it's good for our young teachers. I'm proud to come from Bois Forte, and I came over here. They're like, Terry, I first started out as a drum group teacher over here, working with the kids about 6 years ago. And when they found out I know the language, they're like, well, do you want to start teaching the kids language? I said, yeah, sure. Well, what else do you know? I was like, I know some of the customs and, some of the games, and like, well, let's make, you don't want to be teaching for an hour and a half. Let's have some fun. Work with the games with some of the kids, teach them the rules behind the games, and the hardest part of teaching the hand games and the Moccasin Game is there's no talking, and even in modern days, you play basketball, you talk smack. When you play the Moccasin Game, when you play the hand games, there's no talking allowed. That's the hardest thing for the younger generation to learn. Like, you lost, you loser. No, we don't say that. We just keep playing. We play the game the way it's supposed to be played, the way the games were originally supposed to be. Whether it's the Moccasin Game with the 4 things, the sticks, the hand drums, the coins. That actually started off, the Moccasin Game actually started off with them actually playing with real moccasins. They took off their shoes and they hit items. What you know, whether it was pebbles, what originally started out was bullet casings. But and then it, you know, because we didn't have marbles. Nowadays you use marbles or use coins, but that wasn't the case. We used what we had, and they were bullet cases. They just flatten them down, and they would mark one, and they would hide one, mark one out of in between three different, you know, out of the four items, one would be marked, and that's the one you would have to find. The first round would be you'd find the marked object, and then the second round would be hunting. And then they would play, each side would have 20 sticks. And so once you lost your stick, that was a peg. Like you'd have like a little board here and there would be 5 little pegs in there. And once you reached the 5, then your team was out. So, and it would go back and forth, you know, the hiding, the hunting, and the guessing. And even for the Moccasin game is basically specifically played by the boys, the men. The hand games can be played by the women. The different rules is each team of both teams for the Moccasin game and the hand games consist of 3 people. You know, you got your captain, and the captain decides who's going to guess, who's going to hide, you know, who's guessing, who's hiding the coins, who's the singer, and it's great to see these games come back. The hand games, the Moccasin game. It's great to see people playing those again. And sometimes they play them till like 3, 4 in the morning, and they're like, "Let's take a break. We need a break. We need to sleep for a while." But yeah, that's another thing. That's what I do, is I teach the hand games and the Moccasin games, the best of my knowledge, and even the language. And I said before, I'd like to thank KBFT. I'd like to thank all you guys here for allowing me this old guy to come in and just have fun. And I'm still doing what I'm doing. I'm still out there having fun. And now I get to do my spiel for MMA and wrestling. I like people enjoy that. Just see the language come back to the to the people, to the new places. And what I say is Bushneg get in Iniwug or Ikwewug, you know, good luck women, good luck men. It's beautiful when someone says, you know, the crowd like, wow, that was, and it even got to a point where one time where I was like I went to this wrestling event, and I did like the prayer, just did like a basic opening, you know, say my name, my clan, where I'm from, the 4 directions, the 4 colors, good luck, miigwech bisindawyag miyu. And afterwards, this great big wrestler come up, like 6'4", must have been like almost 300 pounds. He goes, "Hey," I was like, "What? You Ojibwe?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "You know your language?" I said, "A little bit." And he goes, "You know, should I tell you something?" And I'm like, "Oh man, this is gonna be, you know, I'm gonna gotta scrap it out here." And he goes, I'm a descendant from White Earth. And he goes, "I've always wanted to learn my language." And he goes, "Could you teach me the basics? You know, my name, my clan, where I'm from." And I was like, wow, this dude was just body slamming some other dude, and he comes up to me and humbles himself in front of me and asked me to teach him his language that he lost. And that still, you know, it still hits right here in the O'Day heart. I'm like, wow, that's cool that this guy that's lost his way is asking me nicely to teach him. That's a beautiful thing, you know, and that's because of the language. And all right, it is 7:32 a.m. and this is Terry Goodsky signing off for KBFT's language. I don't even know what we're doing yet, but yeah, I'd like to thank you guys for allowing me to come speak. And you know, hopefully you've learned a little bit something today, and we hope to do this again in the future. You know, we hopefully do the language camps again, and we need to keep this language going. It's important. My father emphasized that, and even my grandfather. He was fluent, and he was one of those. To tell you the truth, my grandfather Frank Dupree, he couldn't read. He didn't even graduate college, or he didn't even graduate high school. But he was fluent, and he understood it, and he could speak it. And but yeah, my grandma too, and my mother, and my dad. They're all gone now, but it's good to see the family doing, Brian, Nick, Nicholas, and it's good to see you guys again, and it's good to see you guys doing good things, doing beautiful things out there, wherever you guys are, in Superior or St. Paul. I was listening to you guys. I watch you guys too. And I'm proud of you guys. I call you guys my family. You guys are my family, and even the Strongs are my family. The Drifts are my family. The Morrisons are my family. Let's see, who else is my family? The Porters are my families. You guys are all my families, and it's good to see everybody doing their best to keep this alive, keep this language alive. This language is alive. It's a living thing. All right, Jalen, let's throw it back to you. And what are we doing now?
Giving a shout out to the belt that comes around every powwow here.
Oh yeah, it's next year, or actually this year, we're upping the prize money. It's gonna be I gotta make a new belt. I gotta design a new belt. It's gonna be it's gonna have the numbers 20, 22 on it. I gotta redesign the whole belt. I gotta make a new trophy. It's gonna be winner take all again, except it's not gonna be $300. It's gonna be $1,000. Winner take all. And then we got some guys on the drum group for Lake Vermilion. I think we're in the process of we want to decide who's the musical chairs champion is. So we're gonna make a trophy and put up some money for that too, for the Lake Vermilion Powwow. It's just a way of us giving back to the community where we actually grew up and where we learned how to sing. And that's always supported us no matter what. Yeah, we're rambunctious. We did a lot of things we're not proud of, but we always kept singing and we always kept doing our best. And it's just a way of us giving back now. Even with the belt and the trophy, I did that on my own, spent my own money on that, and that was a way for me to give back to a place that taught me how to sing, taught me how to dance. And I'm still dancing now, not as much, but I'm still singing. And it's just a way of giving back to the community that accepted us and taught us how to sing. And we're still doing it. We're still out there. We're still having fun. So, but yeah, I'd like to thank, as I said before, I thank you guys for allowing me to come here and just have fun and just to talk and mainly to emphasize the language is important. It's a very important. It should be important to everybody. And I did that tribal relationships with state legislatures, and I emphasized that too. We were supposed to have some singers come there. They didn't show up, and then they looked at me like, Terry, you got a hand drum? I was like, yeah. I said, but before I sing this, I told the state legislatures and all the tribal councils that were there from Minnesota, I said, first things first. I said, I need to say this. I said, I need to jump on my soapbox. And I said, this needs to be said and it needs to be repeated that the language is alive. And if we lose our language, then that comes to the question, are we really Ojibwe people? Are we really Anishinaabe? Or are we descendants? Even the Dakota people, the Oyate people, if they lose their language, Are they still Dakota, Oyate, or are they descendants? You know, and that's one of the things that makes us who we are, is our language. And whether you know a little bit or whether you know a lot, be proud of that. Be proud of that, and hopefully, you know, take it to the next level of the older generation. And that's all I have to say about that. And, you know, but good luck, guys, and hopefully we'll see you guys next round. You know, we need to get the word more out about these Zoom classes, and you know, and just I try to make a language of learning fun. You know, that's all I can do. You know, nobody wants to sit in a stuffy classroom, but you know, you bust some dominoes out and people are like, hey, he's playing dominoes. Like, really? But we're remixing this. We're playing dominoes in the language. So get your sheet out. When it goes to 10, goes to 20, goes to 30, goes to 40, you just got to remember the pattern. Nishtana, ashi bejik. Nishtana, ashi nish. It's a lot of work to remember that pattern. Nisway madana, ashi bejik. Nanin madana, ashi bejik. You know, nisway madana. Ningo dasway madana, ashi bejik. As long as you remember that pattern, then learning is fun. You know, and sometimes it's a little stuffy, but you have to get past that part where you're uncomfortable to learn, and you have to get out there. And you know, even one of the tricks that I try to do is teach us, you know, I was like, I tell everybody Star Wars. I said, let me do the Jedi mind trick on you. They're like, what? I said, yes. I said, all right. I said, Mizaway Kaminkanang, around the earth. I said, all right, hold on, wait. And I'll go, Mizaway Kaminkanang. And I'll look right at them. And they'll repeat it, even though they'll have problems with it the first time. And I'll look at them, I'll say, Mizaway Kaminkanang. And then they'll, like, once that eye contact, that one-on-one, then they'll say it again, and they're like, what did you do? And it's like, Mizaway Kaminkanang. And I said, Jedi mind trick. But it's that one-on-one that they love. They're like, and then they get it. They're like, oh, okay, all right. And then, you know, any other words that they struggle with, and I'll do that, you know, that little hand gesture and look right at them, and they'll pick it up right then and there. And teenagers are hard to work with. They're so bullheaded, and they really don't want to learn. But once I get those barriers down, you know, that one-on-one, their little shields down, you know, of what happened in their lives or what happened that day. Once they lower their shields and they open up, then the beautiful thing of the language happens. And and I'm glad I've had 3 people pass my Ojibwe class, my little class for mental health, for outpatient, for outpatient. Out of 150 words, I only allow them to miss 20 words, and they put in the work because they don't want to see me no more. So they put in that work, and one of them passed with missed 10 words. The other passed with missed 15 words, and then one barely passed with 19 words. But out of 150 words, that's, you know, I'm proud of that. I can, you know, and it's weird because now I'm not even from White Earth, but it's, you know, the praise you get from your peers, that's what matters the most. You know, when you're doing something good, take pride in that. Take pride in whether you're working with kids or working with adults. I wish more programs would work with the teens, work with the kids, work with the adults. We all have to do our part. You know, whether we're in our, you know, whether we're in our teens, our adults, close to elderly, we all need to pick it up. We all need to pick up the ball and run with it. And if we drop the ball, we can always pick it up and run with it again, you know? So, all right, guys, I'm gonna head home here. I'm just, just to show you guys, you know, this is me. I'm actually on the wall here somewhere. I don't know which. I've did some of these for the radio station, and then And then this is my playground in the morning. And I will say, this red wall here, this represents all the hurt feelings of the Green Bay Packers when I tell bad jokes on Tuesdays. So, but yeah, it's it's weird because I'm from Minnesota. I love Minnesota. I love, win or lose, Green Bay win or lose, I'm always a Vikings fan. And I can slaughter the Green Bay Packers all day on my show. I say one Minnesota Vikings joke and I get called down to the office. But yeah, it's all in the name of just having fun. Even the language, we have to make it fun. We have to make learning fun again. It's important. But like as I said before, I'd like to thank you guys for inviting me, and I'm always, willing to teach, as long as there's somebody willing to learn. That's the main thing. If the students is willing, there's always a teacher somewhere to teach them about, our beautiful ways. And, it's the main thing is, other cultures don't have what we have. Other people forget who they are, basically, whether it's hard to say, but, I can say this honestly, some people don't even know who they are or where they come from or their language or, as Anishinaabe, we know our creation stories. We know where we come from. We know about what plants are good for us and what plants are bad for us. And even now, during the time of COVID, we rely on our medicines, our changa, our cedar, and we drink that cedar water, even the changa, the tea, the swamp tea. That helps us feel better. That clears our lungs. But we all need to, rely on our medicines. That's what gets us. That's what makes us who we are. People are always trying to be us. I hate to say it, but always, say, hey, what do you guys do when you guys get sick? Everything we need is just right out our door, right out our window. Let's say gun window. Ishkwan dam door. A boopa win table. A boppy win. But everything is just right out there for us. When we get sick, that's where we should go. Our teas, our swamp teas, our cedar, our sacred medicines. That's basically what I relied on when I got sick and COVID ended up in the ICU. COVID threw everything out of whack, my mind and my body. And I relied on prayers, my people out there, the people that send me good wishes. I was plateauing, and when you plateau, it's always people get sick and they plateau, and then it's downhill after that. And I thought about that, and I said a prayer in a language, and I prayed to the east, which we're supposed to, and I said, I don't know if I have what it takes to get better. And I said, I don't know my full language, but I said I need help. I asked for help. Ikadon we do Kawashin, help me. And but I had to do the work. I had to do the work. I had to do the physical work to get better. And everybody was like, my doctor was like, I was hooked up to 2 IVs and I was on oxygen. I was on an EKG, the octopus for my heart. I was on steroids. I was on insulin. I was on getting transfusions. They were giving me vitamins. I just got really sick, and I said a prayer to the Great Spirit to help me. And but I had to put the work in just like everything else. And my doctor came back in the next morning. I asked him, I said, what do I need to do to get out of here? And he goes, well, your oxygen levels need to be up. Your blood pressure needs to be below normal. Your heart rate needs to be good. He goes, and you need to be off your IVs and you need to be off oxygen. And I looked at him, I said, just those 5 things? He goes, yeah. I said, okay. I said, so how much time do I have? When are you coming back in? He goes, well, I'm coming back in at 10 in the morning. And it was like 4 in the afternoon. I said, all right. So I just got to do those 5 things and I get to go home. And so when, I told him, I said, well, can you close my curtain when you leave? I said, I got to do some things that I got to humble myself. And I got to do some things that I don't want anybody to see. So I said a prayer in what little language I knew. And but I put the work in, and I was doing physical therapy till 10 o'clock, where I finally fell asleep. And I woke up with a bloody nose and called a nurse, and she said, you know why you got a bloody nose? And I said, stress. She goes, no, because you don't need your oxygen no more. So, whoa. She goes, your oxygen levels are good. You don't need this little thing on your finger no more. So, all right. And he goes, your blood pressure is below normal. You don't need the stickers on your chest no more for EKG. And I looked at her and said, well, what about these IVs? I had an IV in each arm. She goes, you don't need those neither. I'll send somebody in to come take those out. And I got out of the hospital the next day. And but I did have to put in the work, and I did say a prayer in my language. And prayers do work. And but I said it in the language so somebody would hear, into the east direction to where we're supposed to pray. And University of Minnesota contacted me 2 weeks later. It was like, what did you do? I said, I relied on my culture to get me better. I said a prayer in my language. Even weird, it was weird because when I went home, I got home, I had people visit me. I don't know who they were, but I had a male and a female and male's spirits check on me every night for 4 days after. I would be sleeping, and I'd be sleeping, and next thing you know, someone would tap me on the shoulder, ask me if I'm all right. And it wasn't like, it was kind of like a familiar touch. And in the middle of the night, like somebody would sit on my bed just right next to me, and I'm like, and I'd wake up and there's nobody there, and they're like, how you doing? And they'd move things around in my room where, it was, we're throwing them at me, but they'd move things to know that I'm there. And after 4 days of being home and being completely weak from the hospital, I opened up my window and I asked these things. I said, I'm home. I'm okay. Could you please leave? Can you please move on? I'm better now. Thanks for miigwech for coming to see me. And it's one of the things that I rarely talk about, but it was a point where I was at my lowest and at my weakest, and my relatives came to see me. It tears me up, that these things, these people came to check on me when I was at my weakest. They didn't come visit me in the hospital, but but when I was home, and when I was home, then they'd come check on me. I had to ask these things to, I'm home now. I'm safe. I'm in the clear, and I'm still here. So, but yeah, we need to keep this language alive, and we need to keep this language going. We still need to, all of us still need to do positive things out there. We all still need to do positive things and keep it going, whether it's the language or even the games or singing. We need to keep going. And but yeah, that's all I got to say. And I am gonna be bouncing out, and I'm gonna be heading out here soon. And I'd like to thank you guys again for inviting me. And whenever we do some more stuff, and it's because of the language that I'm still having fun. I'm working with certain wrestling groups here in Minnesota, certain MMA groups here in Minnesota, in Wisconsin, and traveling. It's because of the language, and because people like to hear that prayer for them. And some of the fighters and some of the promoters was like, wow, that, and plus I sing a song, and I try to joke around, I said, well, I'm going to probably sing a healing song, because I know some of your feelings are some of you guys, your feelings are going to get hurt tonight. And, and some of you guys are going to need some healing later. And it's just, they're like, yeah, thank you, Terry, even for that, even it's a slight little jab, but it means something when they hear that language, when they hear that song. The sound of that drum, just it touches you. It affects your heart. And it's like, wow, that's beautiful. Just that rhythm. That's the first thing we hear in life, that drum beat, whether it's our mother's heartbeat. And that's why you see babies sleeping at Paulo's, and babies like to sleep in your chest because they hear that heartbeat. That thump, 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 thump. They still hear that. That's why babies love cuddling, no matter what. You could, if a baby doesn't know you, they'll still, once they feel your heartbeat, that steady rhythm, they just put him to sleep right away. And even at Paulo's, you see babies in strollers or even laying around. They love that. They love that drum beat. They love that heartbeat. It just makes them just boom, they're out. You're so tired, you used to see them just fall asleep in their chair. And even little kids, they still love that. And that's beautiful. When I go to Paulo's and I see that, and I was like, wow, that's us right there. That's all of us were like that. And we still, well, some of us still like cuddling and, with our significant other and hearing their heartbeat, but that's a totally different story. But yeah.
Miigwech.
All right, cool guys. Later.
Yep.
Miigwech.
Shout out to Lowell Elementary in Duluth. And all the, they do like the immersion camp or the immersion classes for K through 5th grade. Thanks, Terry, for stopping by. We do have one more speaker here.
Yes.
So I'm gonna bring him in here, Perry. If you
Yes.
could introduce yourself, that would be appreciated, and you can get on the way.
Yeah, okay. Nashki Benas Ninsa, Makwani Duram, Sabikunes Agigan in Dunjaba, Nisimedina, Bawunigis. And I think it's only right that I lead off with a prayer in the language. I'll keep it. I'm just going to do the first part of it because it's a really long prayer. And then I will follow up with maybe a couple jokes, in the language that I've learned over the years. So, okay. This prayer was given to me by my grandfather, Lester. He's not here anymore, but, he gave it to me, and I want to share it with you. It's helped me in my time of need, whether it was physical, mental, spiritual, psychological. So I'll just go ahead and start. Nah, Gichimanidu, Nungum Sha Nigiskan, Nidu Pogan, Gegu go into motion, the Gubbis and Daushiuk. Nah, Wabanum, Ginagu Gadanaskan away, a Sama away, Communicating with the cushion. The Gukan away in a machine gay, the Gamishin Gegu, Magaja Gabawach Gegu, Magaja Gabawach, Magaja Gabawach Gegu, Gishpen, Gegu, Mission, Midashweg is a chigger. Meujak is a chigger water Anishinaabe. Miigwech Wabanum, Miigwech a key, Miigwech a chiwanidu. Now, normally after that, I start in the east, like what Terry said. When you start, you pray to the east first, and you go to south, west, and then north. But to do it all, and I didn't have tobacco in my hands, so technically I'm not breaking any spiritual law. Hopefully not. But when we talk about, I've heard the stories and I learned so much from Nicholas and other speakers, Terry, and it was just beautiful. I learned stuff that, I didn't even know. And the Nan Buju stories, the drum teachings, so beautiful. And it's, gifted, true gift. And, what I can say for the most of my learning capabilities was I was just like in the right place at the right time. Having two grandparents that could speak it, being able to go to Bois Forte immersion camps in Tower and other areas, and what Terry said sticks out to me. It truly is like, it's hard. You got to discipline yourself, and it has to be in here too, your heart, your mind, your spirit, and your body. And I believe that it's in every single one of us. It really is. And so I just want to start off with I'll lighten it with a joke, because I don't want to be all serious all the time. So I'm going to say a joke in the language that my grandma taught me. Hey, Grandma. Okay, so whenever I go see my grandma, I can say what Jay brought up. Hey, you got $5? You got $10? Well, what I say to my grandma is Nukumis Gida Gabiska Min Junia Gamik. Nukumis will say, Ani and Dush, why? And I'll say, Nabukshka Minawa Nida. I'm broke and I'm greasy. But no, just it's a joke. It's a joke. But and I think that's how we do get it back, making it fun, playing dominoes, playing the game boards. All of those things can they help. They help us. We do help. And throughout my many years of learning and listening, and that's how I learned, listening to Nicholas, listening to Eileen, listening to Terry, listening, Bizendan. I think I always say it, the Anishinaabe people, our greatest strength is our ears. And I not mean no disrespect to those who are handicapped or gibshe. That means deaf in our language, gibshe. But it's our greatest strength, our words and our ears. Being able to see is one thing, but being able to listen and talk is just another thing in general. And where I think I should lead off next, and this is my first time doing this. I've never been asked to storytell or sit on a panel, so I'm kind of nervous wreck. But I just want to say a few teachings, about experiences that I've had with the culture, and I want to keep it short because I'm just a shy guy, just nervous. So where do I go off from? Okay, when I was 17 years old, I started having tendonitis in my right knee, and I went to rehab to fix it, and nothing was working. So finally, I almost gave up, and I was on the varsity basketball team, and it was affecting my play, and it could have affected the team play, and I didn't want that. So I went to my grandfather, who's not here now, but he's a healer, and his name was Jaja Winik Yijik. Jaja Winik Yijik was in a kazu, Nimishumis. One Cloud in the South is my grandfather's name. And Nagi mi nakua sama. I said, Nagi mi nakua sama, Nimishumas. He said, Ani Dush, or what's Ani ne kamakat? What's going on? And I said, Nawisagandam, I'm hurting, and Oma, I'm hurting here, and it's not getting better. And he said, Dugamishin Asama, please give me tobacco. And I Nadapin, take it. And so I gave him tobacco, and he was a pipe carrier and a healer, and he taught me how to pray in the language. And I am a fluent speaker. I've been it for a long time, but I'll get into that after this story. The strangest thing happened. He did his ceremony. He told me he would help me. He would take care of it. And I didn't know what he was going to do. So what he did was he took my tobacco. He left some to put outside, and then he also packed some in his pipe. And you don't give too much. You just give like a US quarter size, maybe amount, just a little bit. And he did his ceremony. He did his prayer. He actually took my knee pain, and he transferred it to him. And I went home, and I laid down, and the next day I had woken up and the pain was gone. And this was tendinitis, like it's a medical diagnosis of inflammation of the tendon under your kneecap. And they even put me on some type of medication, they said it was like a steroid, but it wasn't, and it was supposed to help build my knee muscle back, but that wasn't working. But his prayer and his ceremony worked, and it's the strangest thing. I cannot like explain it to you. I don't know how it worked, how he did it. And my grandma, I used to go to my grandma's house after every varsity game, whether it was a away game or a home game. And I used to just sit with them and give them tobacco, and they teach me phrases I never learned before. And she said, your grandpa almost fell down the stairs. And I said, how? What happened? And she said, well, he took that knee pain from you and he transferred it to himself. And he said as soon as he was walking down the basement to get something for her, he felt his knee buckle, like it just buckled and just got stiff, and he almost fell. And he said it was just excruciating pain. And our culture, our way of life, from our prayer to our being in itself is truly, truly mystical, like cosmic almost. And it's, my grandma always says, Gishpin Bawaj Gehan Gegu Midashwe is Jigan. If you give me something to dream, like that's what I'll do. And dreaming, from dreams to ceremony to prayer, they're all connected. It connects us to the universe. It connects us to our neighbors of different cultures, people, countries, religious beliefs. It all connects us, and it really does. And healing each other and helping each other is what the Anishinaabe people truly believe in doing. And I'll say one last story before I know this is getting long and it's past the time, but one last story I want to tell. I'll just go into it. And it was a dream I had. Mewaja Niki Boajigan Jaja Winik Gage Wanuk Eshquiasmuk Nin Daban Gike Bazu. Our car went in the ditch, and this is in my dream. And as we're going, if you ever watch that movie Shang-Chi, where that forest goes, that car is going through there and you're seeing these trees. That's what I saw in my dream. And I just remember the car stopping right somewhere in the forest, and there was a wooden cabin out there. And I looked around and I couldn't see my grandmother, my grandfather, and my cousin Larissa. Those are the names I said just a little bit ago. And I just remember being in this cabin with this Akimwezi, this old man. He had gray hair. He had brown garment on, and he was sitting on his knees. And I couldn't say nothing. I couldn't do nothing. I was just there. And I just remember feeling okay. Like after we had gone through, the car went in the ditch and we kept going. But for some odd reason, I just remember feeling a sign of relief when I was in that wooden cabin. And it was like a lodge. And this was when I was 15. I used to have really, really vivid dreams, like dreams that I can't explain, that I don't wish to explain or talk about. But to me, I remember at the time, it was right when I achieved fluency. In the dream, I think in the dream, it let me know. My grandma always says, when you dream of someone you haven't seen before, that's usually a spirit trying to tell you something. And that spirit was letting me know that I was on the right path, that I keep learning, keep listening, and you'll be okay. And it's dreams, and I actually want to give some teachings right now, the meanings of them from what I've learned over the course. I have them all I wrote a book. It's like 30-40 pages right now, but I'll give some quotations from my grandmother. And I quote, "Spirits communicate with us through dreams. You have spiritual dreams early in the morning. Some dreams you can't remember, the strong ones you do." And she told me that if you dream of fire, that usually means sickness. Fire, sickness. Dreams of water. If the water is clear, it's a good dream. But if the water is mucky or dirty, usually that means someone close to you is abusing drugs or alcohol or some form of medicine they're abusing. Dreams of shiny objects, good fortune to come. If you dream of bugs or insects, that's trouble with the law. And if you dream of like darkness or blackness, that usually means death. And so, to all you listening and, watching this, pay attention to your dreams. They're telling you something, and the spirits want to communicate with you. And don't be scared. Like Nicholas said, don't be afraid. Don't be scared. Just listen, and things will come to you. They will, in the form of good fortune, knowledge. It's all good, and we must never ever abuse our spiritual power. And I'm proud to say that I've never abused my spiritual power. I always try to never. And people say, how do you abuse your spiritual power? Well, I don't want to tell you how to do it. Well, ways that we've seen it done in the past is using prayer to inflict harm on people, or for wishing for bad things to happen to people. That's real. Like, that's very concrete and real. And that bad medicine will come back to you tenfold. And Gekandan Anishinaabe Mishkiki. Know your native medicine, good medicine. And no Mishkiki. Wish good on each other, listen to each other, laugh at each other, and I just want to end it off with another joke. Okay, so I was 19 years old. I was going to Fond du Lac Community College at the time, and I was taking Anishinaabe Moen 1 here. I'm already fluent, and so I kind of skated my way through class. I just speak up when I had to, to get my grades done. And I end up saying Sabikune Zagi Gun. And the teacher at the time, her name was Tara Dupuy, just laughed super, super hard, like hardcore, like, oh, like just laughing. Like, I'm just like, did I say something wrong? She said, that's how you say it? And I said, yeah, that's how I say it. That's how I was taught by Gene Goodsky, Karen Drift. I said, oh, that's how I say it. And from there on, I shut myself out from the world, and I'm just being totally honest. That's why they took me so long. Like I've been a fluent speaker since I was 12, and it's been something that I haven't coped with yet and comprehended yet. And the teaching behind that, I learned, I remember feeling so ashamed of myself, feeling like, oh man, so that's what it's going to be every time I go out and speak my language. People are going to laugh. Goodbye, Pete. They'll laugh. And I just remember telling my grandma, and she said, well, she showed me a passage in a Chippewa customs book, and I looked at it and I read down and it said, and I quote from this book, there are 1,000 different Ojibwe-Anishinaabe Moan dialects. It was a custom hundreds of years ago for other tribes to laugh at your dialect. It's actually a custom, and and I think that custom, which I just said and was just talked about, is why we've lost so much of it. People are ashamed. They're scared. They're scared. And I've experienced that before, and it's not a good feeling. And I think that's one teaching that I think that we should be done with. I don't think that's a custom our people should utilize anymore. That, you know, we're at the tipping point where people don't want to speak because they're scared they're either going to be laughed at, judged, criticized, critiqued, you know. And this is where we're at, where nowadays to teach, you could be a fluent speaker, you could have been given the language phonetically, traditionally taught it through your grandmother. That's how. And I'll do a quote. This is my quote, and this is what message I want to send to people, that I respect the way your grandmother taught you how to say it. You respect the way my grandmother taught me how to say it. There has to be a boundary. There has to be a respect, a line that can't be crossed. And we're not all fluent speakers where we can laugh at each other anymore. That's where that custom comes from. When 60, 70 years ago, there was 40,000 fluent speakers. Now we're down to a few hundred, maybe Moccasin Gadok, maybe 100. So I've been holding that in for so long, and I got laughed at. That's why I don't go to any other places and speak, because people giggle and they ha, and I just, it's Manu. My grandma says Manu. Let it go. Let it be. But I think, yeah. So if you want joke for me that you learned, if you want to ask your parents or your loved ones, say Gitana Nanaguabik, and that means, hey, you got $5, and if they'll say Gawin Nabukshka. No, I'm broke. That's how we'll get it back, through truthful, respectful humor. What Jalen said, what Terry said, making it fun, and that's what I want to see. And I just don't want to see anybody laughing at each other anymore, because that custom has done so much damage, and it's not being talked about. And if you want to revitalize the language, you have to empower people to speak it. Come on, stand up, you speak. Stand up, you speak. Don't laugh, don't judge. and that we'll all heal each other. And I think it's 8:20. It's getting pretty late, so I can end my panel keynotes off there. And if there's any questions, I would like to answer any questions from anybody else. Or Jay, you still there?
Yep. Yeah, shout out to, if you want to talk about the games again and how to order them, but definitely give a plug to that.
Yep. So these are the games. Brian Stillday, yeah, he can contact my grandmother Karen through her Facebook or her cell phone. Here's the games we have. This is the child version, and this is for advanced learners. Players, people who maybe know high school or college level. This is for advanced learners, and this is for our youth. And we have two versions. One is foods, and one is everyday words. And my grandmother Karen, her phone number is 218-750-7268, and you can just call her, and or you can message me, and I will relay the message. You can, and through Facebook. I do have an Instagram and I do have a Facebook, so it's just Perry Drift. I write the invoices and I do the distribution, the production too. And it's these can be utilized and bought through what is that funding called? Purchase orders to educational departments. So if your tribe or your school has funding for educational tools, these do classify as educational items for the language. And contact Karen Drift, and any money, any check money has to go through her. So yeah, you get a hold of us through Facebook, through her cell phone, or you can just send me a simple message through Facebook, and I will get a hold of anybody right away. And I have my invoice slips here. So the largest order we filled was a 75 quantity order through the Duluth program. Duluth Bois Forte Duluth office they wanted 75, and we just completed their order. So we kind of do have a cap at how many games to be ordered, but we will try to accommodate any quantity. So yeah, and then like or share the post on Facebook. Feel free, and these are for everybody. Anybody can learn, and we can get the language back. And I just want to thank Jalen Strong, KBFT. I want to thank Peyton. I want to thank the other panel speakers, Terry, Eileen, and Nicholas, and just for inviting me here. I'm so honored, and miigwech to you all, and miigwech bizendawe, miigwech wida.
Perry?
Yes.
Somebody just asked a question. They said, "What about dreaming of tornadoes and severe storms?" Do you know anything about that?
Yes, I do. That's tornadoes and storms. That's from what I can deduce from that. My grandma, I'm thinking of what my grandma how she would reply to that, and that's not good. That's foretelling an event that hasn't happened yet, but it will. And stormy weather. Let me look at my notes here. I know I have that.
While you're looking, there was another question that says, are the games fully in the language or a mix of English and Ojibwe? And it's a mix of both English and Ojibwe. So there's words and phrases that you would use in your everyday life or within like a certain topic. And it's kind of like you roll a dice, and once you land on a spot, you have you either have an English word or phrase, and the goal is to kind of guess, or not guess, but reply what the translation of that would be. And then the next time you might get the Ojibwe Anishinaabe Moan word, and then you have to get the translation to that in order to move ahead in the game. And you just go around the board until you can get to the finish line.
Yep, exactly. And I want to apologize to everybody about the instruction manual we sent out. We only sent a translation manual, and what Jalen said is correct. You just move along the board right here, and then you roll the dice. And once you stop on certain places, to even if you don't get it right, you can still maintain your movement. You just have to get the translate it, and each game comes with the translation panel. But yeah, that's exactly right. And I just want to get back to that dream about the storm and the weather. Yeah, that doesn't sound like a good dream. I had a dream similar to that where I seen planes falling down, and I called my grandma right away, and I told her I'd give her tobacco as soon as I can. And she said, any dream like that, like an intense dream, stormy weather, planes falling down, that's foretelling, of some events that may happen. And you know what I recommend to do is tell what you said to me, go to an elder, bring them tobacco, and ask them what to do. And because I'm not at that point where I can disperse knowledge like that. I'm not Madej. I'm not a spiritual advisor yet. But yeah, that dream doesn't sound good. Or bad dream. But yeah, that's my advice is just seek out your spiritual advisor, whoever it is where you're at, give them tobacco right away, because that sounds pretty scary. And about the games, we'll get back to that. Through Facebook ordering, through Karen just Facebook, you can and then ways to pay. You can either mail a check to her mailing address, which I can give out through social media. What was that what was that last question, Jay? I'm sorry.
That was just about the games, like if they're mixed. So yeah, we cover.
Yeah, about the games. Yep. The translation manuals. That's what I want to do. That's what I gotta explain. Okay, so they come like this. It's hybrid learning, like as Nicholas talked about before, hybrid. We offer the Bois Forte dialect. It's Karen Drift wrote it all out, so it is true Bois Forte dialect. That has the Anishinaabe word first, and then the English word second. So let's see. Let me say, Minno Jabe. That's good morning. Let's see a good Bois Forte dialect one. Let's see. Cheese. Zabigi. There you go. There's a good Bois Forte one. Gazibi Gaje. So that means take a bath. Other tribes have different other meanings. Kino Amagamik school, which I know they pronounce other ones, it's Gikanu. But yeah, for us, Bois Forte dialect seems to like shorten stuff up. That's what I've noticed. I've taken it in Fond du Lac and other places like Red Lake, Fond du Lac, White Earth, they use like the full translation. But what I've noticed with Bois Forte is we kind of shorten up the words a little bit. Like for example, we say it, pronounce it Sabikune Zagigun, but how Fond du Lac says it, a Sabakone Zagigun. Zaga igan agun again. Zaga igan or again. They say it like that. And I was like, whoa, I've never heard anybody ever say a Sabakone, but Onamine Zagigan tower. And then I believe that's now a Guam underneath the bear. Now a Guam. And then another thing too, we had speakers come up and tell us how to say how to say Spirit Island, and they said money doom and this. But what I was told was now mom. I mean Spirit Island, but I don't know. Dialect, college level, learning it from a book. That's what I'm seeing, that a lot of people are correcting people on how to say stuff. And my philosophy is that every dialect, every way is right. We just got to come together and just respect each other's way of saying it. And that it's so beautiful. Like, but let's just not laugh at each other. Because man, that chick really hurt my feelings, man. Like I still have, I don't know, like I said, I get nervous. I'm laughing right now because I'm just thinking about, like, oh man, she doesn't know either, that lady. But yeah, she really hurt my feelings. But I forgave her a long time ago in my heart. And no hard feelings, but that really did hurt my feelings. But oh, what was the word for Spirit Island? Now Guam. But there's many ways you could say Spirit Island. Like James Vukolich, that's what his name is. That's who said it. Manidu Manis, that technically does translate to Spirit Island. But yeah, remember, now Guam, that comes from Jesse Drift. That's my aunt, the person who named me. She's not with us here anymore either, but my grandfather's mother. And there's a lot of knowledge that has to be preserved right now. In Bois Forte, we are losing fluent speakers by the year. Right now, the ones that are there are Jenny Wooden Frog, Datigiguneb, Jean, Gage Wanuk, Karen Drift, Mizunobi Tongue, it's Harvey Thompson. And there's, I believe Joe Holden can speak. Daniel Isham can speak. I know Vernon Adams can speak really well. I'm one of them too, but I still need more practice, and I still have to learn more. But and if I missed any other fluent speakers, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to leave you out, but those are the ones that I know right now. And Jay, I've heard a lot about Jay Strong, and Jay, yeah, my grandma said that you know a lot, and he's just being humble, everyone. Like that kid knows a lot, and I'm so proud of you for what you're doing and having me on this panel. Like, it's, when you texted me earlier this week, I was thrilled, blown away. Like, man, I was like, man, it's such an honor. I've never been asked before, and I hope I get asked again. And I try to keep it funny. And yeah, if you see Tara Dupuy, tell her that Harry still feels bad. no, it's. But is there any more questions? Geez, I'm doing this from my phone.
No, not at the moment.
Oh, good. Okay. Well, I think, yeah, I spoke for 30 minutes, and yeah, and I'm glad. Ode Niminwandam, my heart is happy, it's well. Ode Nijikandam. And Miigwech Awida Kina. Thank you for everything.
Miigwech Perry, this is Nicholas, by the way. I hope to get to know you better. I've seen you online a little bit. I'm glad to have heard you tonight, and I hope to get to know you better. You too. I love your stories, man. Like, those are some powerful stories, brother. Yeah, let's connect, man. Let's keep this going. Yeah, you're doing good.
Well, I think that might be it. So, I mean, thanks for, again, KBFT for helping us broadcast the event, and Peyton Counts with the travel healing program through the Health and Human Services Department for, did I get that right?
Traditional healing program. But yeah.
That shout out to them, and there's some more events coming up this month, and hopefully next month we can do another one of these programs with some of our first language speakers if they're willing to. I'm just reaching out to them and trying to get them to help out with us, and if there's any other events coming up, Peyton, if you want to give a shout out to that.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, we do have an event next week actually with Karen Drift. She's gonna talk about how to ask for your Indian name. So if people have questions about what that process looks like of like how to ask for that, because they might not know or not know who to ask or how to be respectful and ask for that information. Karen's gonna be with us next Thursday and she's gonna talk a little bit about that process and what that looks like. So you guys want to check out the Bois Forte Facebook page, we'll have the information. I also have a listserv for community members that I just started that I'm trying to get the word out about so that if people want to know more about like the local activities and stuff, it'll be on there and I'll put it on the Bois Forte email as well. Thank you guys, everyone, for coming. I appreciate it.
Shout out to Karen for helping us out with these programs and the language. Last thing I guess I'll say is if anybody is within the northern area, I guess the Arrowhead region, and you want to do a project but don't have the funds to do so, check out Mata'uking. It's a program through the Northlands Foundation. So just look up Northlands Foundation. It's under the special initiatives. It's called Mata'uking. It's a $2,500 grant that people, anybody can apply for, as long as they're within, they're helping out some Native communities in some areas. And that could be through whatever project you want to do. So we've had people come through doing hand drum making at down in Duluth. We've had people talk about survival skills kind of up towards Grand Portage. We have a couple people from Bois Forte that just recently got it to help out making regalia, roaches, and doing drum classes. Check out, Mata'uking again. The deadline for this next one is February 15th. It's a super easy process to fill out. Just got to have like basically your budget and your idea, and you got to talk about like, why they need it. And if you have any questions, I guess you can reach out to me here at the Heritage Center. So the phone number here is 218-753-6017. It comes 3 times a year. So I sit on that board, as well as Shane Drift. He also sits on that board from Bois Forte, and then there's a few other people from different regions. If you live down in the metro area, down in Minneapolis, Twin Cities area, you can also apply for a similar grant through the Tihuahe Foundation. Shout out to Nikki Prados. She just is the new executive director there, Bois Forte band member, making us, again, showing that pride for the tribe. But I think that's kind of it. If anybody has any questions, feel free to reach out to Peyton or myself, or at KBFT. So you can go to kbft.org or reach out to them online or, through their app, 89.9 FM. Anything else, Peyton?